Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is will you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up. You witnessing a champ in the making, fueled by your passion for greatness. Yeah, but adversity and bad situations meet us in the middle of the paths that we taking. But it's what you do after that makes men. Will you quit or will you stand up and face it? Tell me, do you have what it takes to swing back when this life asks for the fade? Can you tell me you'll adapt to the change when the punch lands and it puts you flat on your face? After you wake, will you stand up and say, get mad, hit back, lit match to the flames? Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is will you get back up when you fall. You better get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. I need you to get up. Get up.
Icy boy with diamonds on my frozen soul.
Take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition, living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of. Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing reds, you know they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Work like me, had them stripes. Would you go hard just to have that ice? Lot of dudes fell trying to Failure happens to us all, but it's how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is if you get back up when you fall. You gotta get up. Failure happens to us all, but this is how champions evolve. The only thing that matters from a loss is will you get back up when you fall.
رابل مخطوط العراق موجود معانا ليخلص مدفع التواجد دي سبورت تكسر الوضع تاع اوبا حاليا على خرج لوحده بالصراط هذا النيد لما يكون في مكان مناسب. سكتر يا سكتر يا سكتر يا سكتر.
Welcome everyone here to the second Super Weekend of the PUBG Mobile Pro League Arabia full season for the 2022 year. My name is Highland Wolf and welcome if you are just joining us. Let us know, vote who you believe is your team that you want to root for on our socials below. We can use YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all of that jazz with the hashtag PMPL Arabia. But it's not just myself as well. On the broadcast, of course, I'm joined by none other than Monica once more. Monica, it's been a short while before we've casted now. How are you doing this weekend?
I am doing so wonderful. Such an honor to be here, casting with you or casting with Imperium. We've been bringing all of the hype, especially from this region, which it's not your first rodeo, but it is definitely mine. So I've been so impressed by the aggression, the skill, the gun skill, even so, from all of these teams. And we're diving into our second Super Weekend, Highland Wolf. So all the more action to come.
Yeah, of course, a lot to play for. Teams making it in, teams not making it. So a lot of risk involved for this weekend of action. But if you want to also have your energy prepared and refilled, you can do so using the Monster Energy, our official energy drinks partner of the tournament. Monica, we're just going to jump, I think, straight in onto that recap quickly of those teams. Tell us, for the viewers, what happened on that previous day.
Oh man, there was what didn't happen is more the question. Highland Wolf. We saw a team that I think was just kind of flying in the mid ground for the first week, right? And I'm talking about Road to Glory. They finished 7th in last weekend Super Weekend, so we didn't really have too high of expectations for them. But oh man, the last day where we had 3 Sanhok and 2 Erangels, they won 2 of those Sanhoks, and then I believe they got a 2nd place or 3rd place finish in that last Sanhok. So when I messaged the players, right, J9 was one of them. I asked him like, hey, so I think we can safely say Sanhok is your map, right? And he was like, yeah, we take Sanhok every single time.
RTG fitted well, Monica, but we've got more to come as we check a look at the format as well, of course, of where we are in the tournament, Monica. We are currently in, of course, the second Super Weekend where the top 16 teams this week have made it through from the league play previously. Every day, they're going to play 5 matches for the next 3 days. And, of course, all the points that they gather now will accumulate from not only last week's scores this week, but also next week, too, to see who has the top 16 scores heading into the finals next month.
One thing I really like about this structure is that it gives every single team a chance, right, to go for the finals. If we had a league that was, hey, 80 matches, right, for X amount of weeks, right? If you're a team that maybe has a slow start, right, maybe they have an off bad week, there's no catching up pretty much to the very end. So in this way, you know, we kind of reset the scores for each league play that you see those weekdays, and then we had 20 teams, right, including more teams than just the normal 16, and able to see different teams from this weekend. And we've had quite a shakeup from this week from last week, where we're seeing 3 new teams and 3 teams that were in last week's that did not actually qualify for this Super Weekend.
Right, indeed, and of course, it's not just a format that really matters for these teams. It is also, of course, the schedule when these teams will be playing as well. And you are looking right now at, of course, the first week where we've played, the second week where we've also played the Monday and Tuesday. We are on a Thursday right now, and we've also got Friday and Saturday still to come for the second Super Weekend. But, of course, it's the future that we're looking towards, and where those points matter. Week 3, of course, keep noting that Wednesday isn't going to have a break day, so these teams are going to be very much going to need to be energized, Monica, for, of course, those 5 days in a row.
I think they're going to definitely need to pop multiple monsters on those days to get through those days right in a row, because it's something that, you know, not a lot of people think about. It's that kind of fatigue, right? You're playing this high level, constant, just as high caliber as you can, and it's going to get tiring. So we're going to see those teams that a little bit more experienced, a little more veteran, and maybe more mentally strong, especially in that kind of last couple of days of that next Super Weekend. Can they go for the long haul and still compete?
And of course, those finals as well later in July 23rd to the 23rd as well, where these teams will do battle to see who will be crowned champion. But that prize money also comes with becoming a champion, Monica, and it's going to be a total 150,000 prize pool split across this tournament. Of course, every team will earn $2,500 for playing just in the tournament alone. But the winner chicken dinners here back in the Super Weekends, every single game, Monica, a team wins are going to be grabbing $1,000 for themselves.
I know some of those teams that, you know, that did so well the last 2 days in week play. Like we have GEEKAY, we have POWR Esports, and of course Road to Glory that won so many chicken dinners. I'm sure they're like, crap, like we should have maybe saved some of our luck for this weekend where we actually have that, you know, 1K cash prize, because there's no such prize in the weekdays as they're trying to qualify for Super Weekend.
Yeah, and of course these teams as well have all made it through now from, of course, the league stage. But we do have to note, Monica, I think, a short little respite to the teams that didn't make it in. So that was CONQUEROR, SKYROCKET, FALCONS, and also VISTA. Sorry, no, it was... My bad. It was...
That's from last weekend.
Yeah, that was last weekend. It was VISTA who didn't make it in, but it was also, if we look at the scores, apologies, it was... Yeah, I think you can tell me, Monica, here. I've lost track of the scores. Oh, no.
It was actually CONQUEROR, which is a huge upset because that was one of those teams that did really well that first weekend, or that first week actually of PMPL. So that was a huge upset, right? OOREDOO Thunders, which was one of those teams that really stole our hearts from the first Super Weekend. Remember, they just kept winning and winning and winning, and it was like, oh my god. So that was a real huge surprise. Maybe, I don't know, would you say, Highland Wolf, maybe some teams, maybe they come in a little bit too confident and then just kind of aren't able to keep up?
Like the confidence really matters, right, in terms of these teams. Of course, I think for VISTA, it's going to be quite tricky now because they've missed out on those 2 Super Weekends as well. So they're going to have to come out really swinging in that 3rd Super Weekend in the future. But I think for realistically, CONQUEROR and OOREDOO, there's not too much stress, mainly OOREDOO, because they did do well, of course, in that 1st Super Weekend. But for the likes of 90th, who didn't really perform as well as these 2 other teams, they're going to have to then pick it up, because sitting out in this week 2, we said it's going to be very stressful without a day's break in week 3 to try and make all of those points back up. As we do check out, though, those other teams competing this Super Weekend, and we're going to start off with RTG, of course, all the way down to R8, who qualified. So it was, I was looking at the right thing for now, which was CONQUEROR, SKYROCKET, and FALCONS, who all made it through to this Super Weekend, Monica, from the 1st Super Weekend. Of course, VISTA, again, as we said, missing out on those 2 in a row now.
I think there's just, I mean, one thing to point out is that 2 of those teams that didn't qualify were in Group C, which was CONQUEROR and OOREDOO Thunders. And lo and behold, one of the teams that did really well in this league play was POWR Esports. So maybe that was a slight factor in them not in them not qualifying because POWR Esports, when you're in the same group with a team like that, then you're just there's no maps that you're not with them, right? You're always playing with them. So I think, POWR Esports may be sucking up all the points in those matches where OOREDOO Thunder and CONQUEROR really trying to get the points. They just, it just wasn't enough for them.
Yeah, of course, we check out if you were missing out on that second date. The quick overall recap of the standings from this was the super weekend of the first week. So GEEKAY stepping out for now in on that pole position, 158 points. As we said, OOREDOO, CONQUEROR, not too concerned, of course, making it above that century mark. But a lot of work still needs to do by all of these teams to secure and solidify their spot in, of course, the finals using this super weekend moniker.
So this is the overalls, like we said, only the super weekends count towards this, right? So we saw GEEKAY, huge, performance from last weekend, as long as Twisted Minds, but OOREDOO Thunders are, what a turn of events where OOREDOO Thunders didn't qualify for the super weekend. I mean, they did well enough for themselves that first super weekend to put them in a comfortable spot going, considering not going into this weekend. But as we look kind of towards the bottomer side, like CONQUEROR, they're a little, that's another team that didn't qualify as well. And I think some of the other ones are in major kind of stress as they watch some of the teams that were below them now have a chance to climb above them.
Yeah, of course, Major Pride there finishing off on that 8th position, currently barely getting that century mark again. RTG, though, going, as we said, to need to do very well here to make themselves back up towards that top position. But as we check further down the standings as well, we are going to be checking that 9th position where 90th minute, of course, also need, as we said, to improve. But coming down to that 16th spot is...
Yeah.
Where we ended up on that 16th position, the only one having, of course, that big game at the end of the first super weekend to put them at least up to 70. But major points need to be grabbed by a lot of these teams at the bottom.
So if we look at these scores, so these are scores that were accumulated in one weekend, right? So we can use this as kind of a simulation for this weekend. So if we have some of these teams, they're getting 158 points in one weekend, or at the bottom level, 70 points in the weekend. I mean, if I was a team like 90th minute, I'm doing the calculations in my head, like, okay, if everyone below me did as they did this week, maybe our next hurdle is going to be like 140 points, for example, if the only one got another 70 points. Now they're going to be above them. 90th minute, though, they still have a chance, though, if they can qualify for next week's super weekend. But Highland Wolf, I mean, NIGMA Galaxy, I've seen them play before this split. I've seen them, I've heard things about them, but I just haven't really seen all these kind of rumors. Their reputation definitely precedes them, but I haven't seen anything to kind of prove it yet.
Yeah, I mean, NIGMA certainly are one of these teams who kind of get a ball rolling slowly to begin with. It's like a snowball, right, Monica? It gets bigger and bigger as the tournament continues on. So hoping to see big things from NIGMA. At least they reach 100 points. But of course, as we check out that final page, Monica, of the 17th to 20th place teams, it is going to be empty from all of those teams who, as we said, haven't played so far. That being Curdwell, SKYROCKET, Falcons, and also VISTA, who all need to get off of that 0-point mark. So that is why we don't see them currently there. But I think a lot of pressure on all of these teams. And I think mainly I want to start off with Falcons, because Falcons are another one of those big teams where they have a lot of reputation coming in onto the tournament. They didn't do so well, though, in that weekend, as I think the first week that we were expecting them to.
Yeah, Falcons was maybe it's an okay thing that they didn't make that first super weekend, because these teams like Curdwell, like Falcons, and obviously SKYROCKET too, these three teams did qualify for this super weekend, and maybe they took those extra 3 days, right? Like, hey, we're gonna just meditate a little bit, like look back and watch the VODs and kind of see where did we go wrong and see how the other teams in this lobby are playing. And obviously it did well for them because they've now qualified into the super weekend. So sometimes just taking that extended break, just refresh yourselves, come back a little bit calmer, and being able to play much better is something that could give them the step up for the rest of this tournament.
Look, I think as well for the pressure, though, coming into this week, certainly we can't deny, as we said, they're going to have the pressure on them to be able to make those points. 70 points, already the threshold that the only one have set, Monica, for these teams to reach that qualification space. But they still need to get on top even more points than those 70 because they need to make sure that they qualify past that 16th position too. And keep in mind, squads like the only one as well, Monica, they're also playing in this weekend.
Yep. I think definitely the bare minimum benchmark is, I want to say it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it is going to be 90th minute. They were sitting at 100 points, I think, from the first Super Weekend. I think that's the lowest team that didn't qualify for this, besides Vista Gaming, who hasn't qualified for either Super Weekend. But I think that is probably the bare minimum benchmark they need to get. So 100 points across 3 days with 5 matches each. I don't know the quick math, but whatever 100 divided by 15 is, right? I think that is the average points they need to get per match to try to jump over that spot.
Yeah, we're kind of looking at about that 7-8 points per game kind of mark average for these teams. But as we said, we got 15 games to Monica for these teams all to play. And we're going to start it off with our first 5 today, being Erangel and ending on Erangel later for our lovely Erangel sandwich. Miramar and Sanhok both back in the mix for the first time this week. Miramar adding that extra bit of spice, that flavor to what has been a Sanhok-filled veggie week.
So we talked about teams that do really well in Miramar, right? And that's going to be the likes of Conquer Iraq, like Twisted Mind. We just saw them from last week and just really dominant on this map. And maybe one of the reasons why they didn't do so well this past, or I mean, Conquer didn't qualify, and Twisted Mind, I want to say barely qualified into the Super Weekend, is because we didn't play any Miramar in the league play. So this is going to be the first time any of these teams are going to play Miramar from last weekend.
Yeah, I think Miramar definitely going to change up a lot of these teams, as we said, Conqueror. I think also Twisted Minds, another one of those teams that didn't maybe do so well when it comes to the qualification, who now need to come back again, of course, in this Super Weekend and perform even higher with their expectations on this map. I think, though, having that range also gonna have to see how teams, of course, like SKYROCKET, like FALCONS also do, because they haven't had this opportunity to play in the Super Weekend. So playing in a specific order is going to be something new once more to them.
Yeah, Erangel now becoming a huge heavy factor in the Super Weekends, where we're back to the old schedule. 3 Erangels heavily dominating each of the days for this weekend. And then in a Road to Glory, I mean, Sanhok, like we said, is their map to play, where they won 2 of them 2 days ago, and they got a 2nd or 3rd place in that last match as well. Now we only have 1 Sanhok per day instead of 3, so I think it's going to be, I don't know, Road to Glory. I want to see how they're going to come back from this, if they can still compete really high without the kind of clutch factor of Sanhok.
And of course, as we are heading into our first game shortly, Monica, we also have to keep in mind, though, it's not just Road to Glory going for that top spot. I think you also have to look at squads like GEEKAY and POWR, who, as we jump into that first match, also were doing very well in those league stage days. And I think for POWR, one of those, I think, underdog teams that we could argue coming into this, they were a new organization stepping up, but they've done very well for themselves alongside GEEKAY here.
POWR was sitting at number 1 the entire week play from Monday, Tuesday this last week, right? And I was so impressed from them, and I actually, you know, I went and congratulated them after they qualified, you know, after the matches on Tuesday. I was like, yay, number 1, and then they're telling me, like, you mean number 2, right? And I didn't realize that in that last match, our Road to Glory had just slipped above them. So blunder on my part, but still, it was just impressive stuff coming out from POWR, and I really want to see them carry that kind of play style into the Super Weekend.
And I think the Super Weekend, as we said, so crucial for these specific new dogs. Again, if you are just joining us, Kurtwell, SKYROCKET, FALCONS, all stepping up with 0 points right now in the standings overall from the Super Weekend. So they all need those extra points. I think having, though, teams like Conqueror at 90th out right now, also OOREDOO, we could actually argue that South Island is another one of those locations, being with this playing path, that is now opened up to these teams. And I'm curious to see, unlike now, SKYROCKET and Pride taking up those South positions overall and giving way to, I think, new strategies.
So what's new here is Pride is usually a team that goes up into the, I want to say North Georgia Pole-ish, kind of up in that area. Is it them, or was it somewhere else in that kind of? No, sorry, it was South Georgia Pole. South Georgia Pole, great. That's where Pride goes. But yeah, so they're able to identify here, like, hey, Novo, you know, probably hasn't really had anyone go there in the last couple of games. Identify, like, hey, we can't get all the way up to South Georgia Pole, So we're going to come all the way down to Novo. And then also kind of on that same island, you mentioned SKYROCKET. They are able to identify OOREDOO Thunders. They're not in the Super Weekend. So they're just going to take up this open spot, really nice spot. And especially seeing this kind of circle, they set themselves up so well.
And I think as well, this zone, we got to mention it, Monica, is all the way on the south side as well. It's an absolute brutal zone for these teams beginning this first Super Weekend. It is going to favor, I think, a lot of these teams overall because they are based on that playing path very close to the zone. To begin with, teams already, of course, have made that journey like SKYROCKET Major all the way down to that South Island already. But that Eastern Bridge going to be a very interesting point of contention for these teams.
We just saw Cheetos. We saw Mad LOL. The team did tell me they give them nicknames for some of these players here. So Mad LOL, they call him the team speaker, which I think it's funny because just coming from managing teams and stuff, some of these players they can be not the most extroverted of people. So when these tournament organizers they ask the teams like, hey, we would like to get an interview from your team, it's usually if you notice it's usually always the same person that kind of gets designated, the one that is like a little bit more extroverted than the rest or a little bit more well-spoken, and they just seem to be, punishing their outgoing personality with, you're going to constantly be doing these interviews.
Look, already though, Nomi needs to step up, use the extroverted energy to be able to take down Dami. Does so indeed for now. Twisted Mind's already getting punished on that early rotation here by Major, and it's brilliant for Major to actually have this adaptation to realize that teams would be coming this early on and be able to camp that bridge appropriately.
Pride, this is not where they really know the area, right? They land on the opposite side of the map. They just landed in Noble Crates, like you said, saw the circle and quickly came to go for the bridge can't, knowing these teams are going to send it across, especially for a team like Twisted Minds, who did end up in the very, very top from last week's Super Weekend, as we do see SKYROCKET and POWR. They're going to have their little skirmish also on that military base side.
Twisted Mind slower now on the approach as Pride begin to spread out. Of course, keep in mind that Western Bridge 2, Monica, is also another point of contention. You see teams as well in that kill feed going to be likely taking themselves down. I actually think that it's a brilliant, interesting rotation through from some of these other teams who are going to focus like Triple on that Western Bridge as well.
What was the thought process in that they knew they were being camped here by the likes of Pride, but they still sent one in the car out wide and gets knocked and flushed immediately in the middle of the bridge. So Pride, I mean, they can do the math in their head right there. No, two, get another knock onto one, and right now, Highland Wolf, it's only Ragnarok left alive on the bridge.
It's a disaster for Twisted Minds in his first game, and it might just look like Biggles will be taken out. Ragnarok is far away from the bridge overall, so should be able to re-divert themselves back to that main point of Erangel, but it's a horrible series of disasters right now for Twisted Minds. Again, we've got to mention the Triple also making their power through. There is a third team, I believe, for Monica, and you see this fighting begin to come out. Is POWR, they're also falling to the hands of SKYROCKET on that Western Bridge too.
This is actually, if you're kind of just watching now, if you haven't watched a tournament in a while, these kind of barricades, these railways, these stairwells on the sides of the bridge, that's something completely new, by the way, in the most latest Erangel update. It just adds another dimension. Before, it was just straight bridge. If you're caught on the bridge, you're just driving off into the waters, right, to avoid it. You can't really do that now, but now you can kind of play these boxes, play these stairwells. But we see Ragnarok, where he's running away from Pride. He's now stayed a little bit too long here, and Curd 12 is coming up onto the other side.
And there's so many early rotations, Monica, happening by these teams. And it was brilliant as well, as we said, SKYROCKET here on this Western side have also done the same right as Major Pride. They've stepped up to the bridge very early on. They've been able to punish now Triple, stall them out. They've already taken 3 out of the members of POWR Esports too. Now I think that actually you have the problem again of these teams on the bridge very early. Are they going to get camped by more of these teams later rotating in if they can't get past squads like Major or SKYROCKET now?
Got a bridge sandwich here as Triple Esports sends one right into the midst of SKYROCKET, and that was just an unfortunate crash and a burn. Looks like he's going to get flushed out here as the rest of Triple Esports maybe having the same kind of fate as Twisted Minds on the other side of the bridges. It's going to be SKYROCKET, though. Remember, this is their first Super Weekend, right? Coming in hot and heavy and trying to get as many points as possible. as now it's kind of a little bit of a stalemate situation. We can see in the miniature map, SKYROCKET sending one out wide. It's going to be Salam to get that little off angle onto Triple Esports.
And Triple, you can see them being punished by the underside there of SKYROCKET, the far angle. But as we check out, of course, where POWR went wrong, it was that extra knock into, I believe, that nade as well. Yes, FALCONS getting knocked, and that's when the disaster really struck. Salam not being returned, and it was just from there, the entire POWR having to run away, but getting caught out by Salam as well on that replay. Alahahe falling as well. An absolute cataclysmic series of errors.
See Triple Esports clever. I mean, I think these teams they're well aware of the kind of angles that are incorporated now with this new bridge update. SKYROCKET, they've done well for themselves now. You can see 4 points that they've able to garner so far. So they must have been, found themselves in a fight with more than just Triple Esports, right? As they have them really just pinned. I mean, this is they're all stacked here, right? There's no off angles with Triple Esports to provide themselves a little bit of cover, a little bit of advantage. They're all just kind of at the mercy of SKYROCKET as they're coming even closer. Just a little bit of damage, Highland Wolf, but not quite enough for a knock.
Oh, the cheeky shot. So getting clever easy through that undertow of the staircase. Won't be able to find it for now, but you can see the damage tick did reveal their position. So a molly will also be sent through to bail out the potential engagement of Triple. You've got to also check out, I think, some of these other teams who didn't go for the bridges. In squads like R82 Monica, going back all the way up to the side of Georgia Pole, you've also got teams up like YALLA to Severny. Going to be a mega rotation that these squads have to do now to get all the way back down again.
Mega rotation, R8. I wouldn't be surprised if they, get in a boat and try to come in on that southern side, but Highland Wolf, we're coming into the blue zone. This is, I want to say, the second, third phase now. It's going to start to hurt quite a bit. Oh my days, indeed. I mean, we haven't seen that many military-based islands so far this entire tournament, and we are getting one of the most extreme military zones that I have seen so far.
That is a absolutely diabolical zone for the first game, Monica, to set us off. I mean, that's about so much what are these teams realistically going to have to commit to the South Island. But the tricky part is about this zone, and what makes it so difficult is that actually there's still that sliver of the mainland Erangel there. Yeah. So still the question is posed, are we still going down to the South Island, or is that going to actually shift and trick us all the way back to the mainland point?
A sliver of the main island in a mega section of the river. There's probably maybe only 50% playable land in here. So some of these teams, especially the ones that aren't on the military base island yet, are going to send it into the water like the only one is doing now. This is one of those teams that ended up, I think, kind of right at the bottom. Yeah, the very bottom, 70 points found in the last Super Weekend. So they're going to be needing to get across and hope that nobody is camping them on the opposite bridge, as YALLA coming in now, and I mean, they're still trying to find a foothold somewhere to call home.
I actually think the other one, making a slight mistake rotating so early on, I would argue that they could have actually capitalized on the fact that zone still is there. A team's going to be rotating towards them. They may look to try take those fights. Instead, by going early, they're going to be the first point of pressure that Major Pride see, and they're going to be able to punish them as a solo team coming in, because no team really has come forward. They actually are lucky, though, that Major have now diverted themselves from Novo back up to the bridge to try instead counteract that location that teams could be coming through. So the little bit of luck coming through from the only one in that Major don't actually try just to camp Novo and try stay hold in their own compound.
Is this Pachinki? Is NIGMA Galaxy still in Pachinki and Bear? So this is the team that, R8's coming up from North Georgia Pole. We have other teams coming up way further up, and NIGMA Galaxy is now just trying to come across the bridge behind the backs of GEEKAY, one of the teams at the very, very top of the standing. So both these two teams not really prioritizing the rotation, but now Freak having to come on back and not really knowing that he fell right into the laps of an entire full team.
Of course, Modi's still there in front, but you can see the difficulty of NIGMA right now is they are so split, all of them. They've rotated at a time so late now that every other one of these teams is going to be also doing the same. And they almost take each other out, Monica, actually, because by doing so, all of these fights in the blue for now, they're not only going to lose out on their ability to get through the bridge, which is going to be an entirely new issue in the future for them, but they're going to lose players, they're going to lose health right now currently as well. And it's only going to make that next crossing, in that next point of getting into the zone, which has gone away from these teams on the western side, even more difficult.
The kind of strategies to bring as many resources into the end, right? If that's resources of meds, of armor, of just people on your team into the end, and by taking this fight here, they're already, you know, halfway health. You see Amity now following to the likes of R8 a little bit further onto the bridge, so it's just, you know, losing them too early when we're only at maybe the 12-15 minute mark is just not setting them up for the end. Amity, I mean, he's too far away, too out in the open for any sort of pat on the back from Lord.
A little bit of respite as that zone does go back mainly now towards Novo. You're kind of expecting that it is going to be around this location for the rest of this game. Of course, there is still that sliver, but I don't think we're going to get too mean for now. I know I'm here back on the desk, Monica, and I know the zones get tricky when I'm back on the desk, but I like to think that we started off with at least a little bit of subdued, not so difficult zone for now.
The players are now going to associate you casting with these kind of crazy
exactly every time
zones. Exactly, that's exactly what I want. Exactly, but I mean, so I think they're going to see like, oh, Graf Kylan Wolf is casting now. We gotta do some extreme edging and extreme kind of rotations because the circle is going to be a definite crazy one. R8 though, they've made it across the bridge after collecting that one elimination on Hamidi and now hugging that northern side and coming over closer to Novo where this next circle did ship.
And I like that Major Pride as well, stepping back, of course, into Novo, so they are going to catch that slower rotation of the only one. They have also the only one just beached now onto Novo, so they are going to have that ability to get inside of the city because Major Pride did rotate away. Also in that elimination feed, YALLA and NASR also fighting outside of that kind of zone as well. And I think now these teams realizing that the Western Bridge was going to also be a threat. A lot of them have rotated to that eastern side. Of course, the zone shifting there as well. But I think that actually teams who are still focusing on that western bridge side, like GEEKAY, actually have a better time rotating. Yes, it can tank the zone for more, but look at the players on that eastern side and the cluster that they are all in.
What just happened? I see Ali21 had YALLA right where he wanted them, raining down the pain on 3 of them, but it was just one headshot back with an M16. Perfectly executed shot and put him down on his knees, so kind of saved his team to rotate in. NIGMA Galaxy not finding any success on that western bridge have now come over onto the Milta farm side and trying their luck over here, but there are so many more teams on this side as well.
And we see teams like that do such a thing where they rotate late, they try to panic, rotate into wherever they can, they find that the zone hasn't gone their way. It's about survival right now for NIGMA. Is YALLA also going to go for, I think, a misclear rotation here? They're going to potentially use that ocean. I would like to see them try use more so, because that's going to be much more easier of a time for them to rotate. NIGMA stepping down as well into the ocean, but they have been caught and they are being fished out. Falcons trying to reel in too.
Falcon, though, looks like a hole in the net from the fishes that they're trying to catch in. NIGMA Galaxy able to slip right through their fingers. Lord as well just makes it just makes it out of the blue zone and also trying to find somewhere else on the beach to come. He's like, I just want to dip my toes in the water, and you guys, the lifeguards, are just being unrelenting over here. Kurt12, though, distracting Falcon and making them focus onto them.
Look, last time I checked, Monica, lifeguards didn't have grenades they sent into your face when you come back out of water. I mean, Falcons, they certainly seem to be the more aggressive kind, as Kurt12 still trying to hold this bridge for now. It's a brave hold, though, as they do get under fire even more so by Falcons, because they still have to cross themselves. And, of course, they know that they can't because Falcons are here, so they are pinned down to this solo idea. They have to fight now, Falcons, sending it over onto Never Alone, barely dodges out the vehicle. Mohammed trying to find 2, but will only find a 1-for-1 trade as Never Alone dips back under the smoke.
It was definitely, I thought it was going to be a very dire position for Falcon because they funneled themselves all into one lateral sight line for Shidos, for Hazam to kind of all shoot down on them. But Mohammed, I think that was a misplay here, just sending it into the smoke. No cover whatsoever from the rest of his team, right? Just trying to take a 1 versus 3. Now Shidos, now Kurt12 playing on the defensive as Falcons is trying to eliminate this team out.
And only Kazem now. Shadow's just getting completely caught off guard as the smokes dissipate, gets caught by the refresh. Falcons because them trying to find something, but it just won't be their side of anything. It is Falcons clean, slow, quick fight taken through now, but they are able to make that fast rotation, as we say, in onto the bridge. They've got a lot of rotating to do, because inside the zone, R8 seem like they're in a bit of trouble, but not as much as the only one who, without even noticing, are down to that solo player. Ziad is the only one. But the problem is, R8 can't move out of this location because all of these other teams are going to be naturally around them.
Yeah, the only one of the only one. Quite the disastrous situation Ziad has put himself in. And like you said, I mean, if I was him, he's barely just got the edge of the circle. Maybe creep on in, but I think it's kind of the waiting game for him. But I don't know if those grenades are going to allow him any more time in this lobby. But let's switch over onto Novo. 4K Esports swimming on the backs of Twisted Minds and Rad. They're not going to let anyone ashore on this side of the circle.
Now, contrary to popular belief, Monica, these are not fishies. They do not have gills. They do need to come up for oxygen. And 4K, when they do come up, Twisted Minds, Rad, they better be ready. Yalla taking a slower approach here, as it will allow the rest of 4K to come in, of course, as well. That air crate will be able to provide some form of extra protection, a tier 3 gear, crucial for 4K actually coming in onto this more pure side, because it will need extra defense, all that they can muster, because they are going to be at the mercy, as we say, of every single one of these players on the land.
I mean, this is kind of easy pickings for any team that gets up, and Ragnarok just making it up. If you're in the water, you're, like you said, you need to come up to breathe at some point, right? You can't just submerge for the entirety of the map, but you can't shoot back, you can't heal on over. And we have about, if we're looking at the teams on this map right now, Highland Wolf, we have about like a fourth of the teams out in the water, not contributing anything to the fights going on here. And at some point, they need to find the timing right to come ashore and join it. But we are waiting for this next circle to pop one more time. Will it shift onto the crates or out into the open and down into the crates? This is basically like a city finish, Highland Wolf, as everyone's going to be finding every little nook and cranny in those crates to really extend this game out.
And I think that Mountainside and Major Pride have got themselves so big of a position. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's on the edge of zone. I think Major, they may hold this location for now. That other edge of the mountaintop, you could see SKYROCKET, you could see R8 maybe making a longer rotation down towards that more south side of the mountain. The rest of those teams, though, they're going to have to come in towards the city, and it's going to be very split in between who goes into more of that edge of the coastal line versus more towards the hillside. Because you can see, Novo, the tricky part about it is it in the middle of that compound there is that big open space between the warehouses and of course where that hill meets.
Yeah, the dividing lines in this end circle are really going to show us which teams pick the better positions. We see, however, NIGMA Galaxy losing one after another. Again, they had 4K, just one ascended up onto the beach line a little bit earlier and is able to just find him as he turtles up for a little bit of oxygen. However, 4K still at 3, but turning their sights onto Road to Glory, who have finally made their way onto this military base side.
Beginning to rotate, of course, through that hillside. RTG, I don't think they're going to go for a fast rotation. It's more about trying to allow the rest of the pressure of these other teams to come out on top first for now. It's 4K. I don't think they spotted, actually, this player of NIGMA behind them. But you can see 4K at least. I think this will be one of them going down. Anaconda will be the unlucky one, as Ragnarok found them out in one shot, one elimination through from them. As 4K now beginning to continue their process across into the zone, but still NIGMA are behind them, and Lord, I don't think has been spotted. Darwee, Golden, they better be ready, because behind them lies a nasty surprise.
Yeah, I think NIGMA Galaxy, the last player, may want to encroach a little bit closer once he has a secured standing within the circle before he makes his presence known. NASR, we do find them falling out, as Lordy does find the one just hanging a little bit, waiting in the water a little bit too long and getting pruned on up. So he does go for the flush, as well as Yalla picking up their piece of the cake too. I think 4K all of a sudden, one left alive.
And it's a disaster for 4K. We said he needs to check behind him, but as Lord makes their present known, will also fall down. 12 eliminations right now for SKYROCKET. It's a dream game for the first match of their Super Weekend run, and they needed this boost, Monica, but they've still got a lot of work to do. Falcons have also made that quick rotation round right to the opposite end of Novo, now contesting Rod, but you can see Rod has such an elevated point of view on this fight. and they need to remove Desha. They do so. That's crucial to remove the height advantage that Ra did have in this fight.
Yeah, definitely really important play there. But Falcons, I mean, we just saw the circle shift, and I was really concerned for it because they kind of funneled themselves into this watchtower, and there's not really a way like that Rad has. They can just go through the crates to get in this next circle. Falcons is gonna have to run out into the open and really aggress onto this fight as a 2-man onto Rad. So it's just, I mean, not a great position for them now, especially with the circle shifting across Noble crates from them.
And they send another player up. They get a revive as well off Kaito, would not even stop because a nade there bring Yusuf down low. Had to go back to that 75% HP mark. The smokes as well dissipated through from Falcons, so their engagement window has now gone, and they're back to square one in this fight. But it only gets worse because the zone has gone away from them now, and it's Rad all with the control. But a quick punish through onto Kaito. Can they find Desha as well? No, gets behind the crate line. For now, we'll keep themselves alive, but Rad seemed like they had control in this fight. But Falcons very quick to punish here. They cannot find Desha. Gets again back under the next crates. Is never alone. Needs to get on the move though, because that blue is behind them.
The silver lining in this situation for Falcon is that Rad is now focused on getting into the crate. So maybe their opportunity, yes, to run out into the open now and try to come in. But Yusuf put down to his knees. There's no mercy for them as GEEKAY has spotted them out. One Falcon left alive to try to soar into this final stages as these teams, I mean, we got 7 teams left in this tiny circle as SKYROCKETs. Now only 2 up. They had to cross the roadside and have been met unwelcomingly by R8 and Triple Esports.
All together, and I think the one location that none of the triple members can really reach with that molly, with the nades, of course, the opposite end of the building, trying to avoid out of utility for now. SKYROCKET is sending some back of their own as R8 as well dip in between the 2 separate buildings on the side to avoid that contact. All of these teams crunched in onto each other, but none of them can really move right now. SKYROCKET, though, as you can see, the moment they step outside of that building, try to make those rotations, triple quick to punish them, and I think that could be a disastrous move from them. Is 2 now down. The zone is also about to shift too, and SKYROCKET, they need to make this time. They need to make the revives, but Salam falling is diabolical from Triple Esports to find them down to 3.
SKYROCKETs and found themselves in engagement after engagement. 12 points found so far this match. And it was great that they were being able to bring 4 down the roadside into this Noble Crates area, but they're all within the same building. Too many people living in this one house, and it was just kind of easy damage to be dealt. Just one nade through the window side that we saw Triple Esports come out of GEEKAY. They're also trying to come in, but you called it, Highland Wolf, that kind of open road. Can you call it a road? Open space between these 2 halves of Noble Crates as the circle actually shifts up into the buildings this time around. So everyone who was in the crates, they're going to have to scramble across that huge dividing line.
It's such a difficult thing for, I think, both YALLA, for both Rad to do. Both of them, I think, will succumb to this next shift if they cannot find a quick move in. Rad trying to punish out YALLA, the only team here, but they lose 2 in the process. YALLA were completely ready for it. What? They will lose 1, almost lose 2 back in return. Is Delhab tried to do some funny business, but Saif gets back indoors and will eliminate Rad live from the other side. GEEKAY in the middle also need to make that move through too. Is R8, Triple, SKYROCKET all continuing to keep their own positions. Happy with this phase 7, where is it gone? But the utility, they are sending in. But my only other concern here, Monica, is that this utility has been being thrown for the last 2-3 minutes. When is it going to run out?
It's going to run out pretty soon. We have GEEKAY running for that last-ditch crate, which is great to replenish their items, right, at this last part of, you know, fresh level 3, fresh level medkit and everything. But, I mean, all eyes are on here. It's kind of a target, a beacon that I am right here. I
can't believe he got it.
I know, but, I mean, GEEKAY, he's just able to narrowly escape it.
I mean, that was a bravery moment of the entire game, if I could point out a single moment. To go in onto the crate in the middle of the open, you know players are watching it, and still get out with your life as well. Going to be taken out for YALLA. Guy finally will be punished. There was no healing through, so taking all of that extra damage will cost him, will lose the loot as well, crucially on that airdrop, so no actual net gain by GEEKAY here.
nothing to capitalize onto that. YALLA, though, I mean, coming off the back of wiping out Red, but now finding themselves in the clutches of GEEKAY. And GEEKAY, even though they're coming in as a 3-man, really, or actually 2-man this time around, really spreading out, having that information. The house is on fire. Somebody left the burner on, and R8 is just calling 911 right now.
Look, they're calling voter fire grenade. They're getting the police in because they're looking to raid a house. GEEKAY, Hope is in there. The bouncer trying to find it off the window back on, but they can't get it. Ragnar as well will be spotted by R8. And there goes the final one. GEEKAY will fall in 5th position, but a quiet team that has been SKYROCKET for now. Keep in mind, still all of those eliminations. Now gets themselves a top 4 position. Might be top 3 here as YALLA. The next team to look to try and make it across. May be proof successful, or will they fall like the rest?
Well, as we see kind of our top teams, right, they kind of fall out a little bit too early, like GEEKAY, Twisted Minds, all those, even NIGMA, Galaxy, is opening the ways for these kind of bottomer teams like YALLA, Triple Esports, SKYROCKET's the first, welcome to Super Weekend, as they're now going so big, still 3-man up, and I mean, they've got the control on the northwestern side of here. R8, they need to come in at some point, and there's nowhere to go.
YALLA, they get across that road. That was the hardest point. They got the 7 eliminations on board, but we need to survive for now. Triple as well. All house sharing here, and R8 will be punished for it. Gets the second one as well. That is a crucial series of turns through, but right on the window. A third party of Ali is there to meet them, and R8 will fall. YALLA may just be next. The SKYROCKET, who have been quietly waiting this game out, as YALLA and Triple fight it through. Saif will be knocked by SKYROCKET, and they've finally woken up. They're here for the chicken dinner moniker, and they say it's dinner time, YALLA, because it's our chicken dinner today.
SKYROCKETs, though, they were saying, hey, we want a piece of this action. Where was our invite to the party? And they came crashing through the door. So SKYROCKETs, this is a team that did not qualify for last week's Super Weekend, and they've come in so big with the first chicken dinner of the entire weekend.
A mega game for SKYROCKET in this first match. You could not have asked for a better match. On top of that, they're going to get those $1,000, of course, with every chicken dinner win through the Super Weekend. So the confidence has to be so much higher than what they could have imagined coming in onto the Super Weekend.
I mean, last I checked, they were at 12 eliminations, I think, and I can't even count how many they got at the very end. So they're putting themselves right within the mid-20, kind of low 30s point range. So they're already almost 50% of the way there to catch up to that 70-point mark with the only one, right?
And the only one. They've got a lot more to go, though. They didn't have that fantastic game. As we check out those standings, SKYROCKET, of course, on top, 31 points for themselves. Wow. 16 eliminations by the end of it. But YALLA, Triple as well, having a good result. That's going to help boost them up the standings alongside R8, who needed, again, more points from that first Super Weekend, up there with 14.
I want to point out the top 5 teams, I believe, here are, SKYROCKET wasn't in Super Weekend last weekend. YALLA, who was in 14th place from last Super Weekend. Triple Esports, that was in 11th. R8, that was in 12th place as well. All these teams kind of right at the bottom. This is such a very balanced region, I would say, Highland Wolf, because it's almost never just 1-2 teams that just completely dominates every single match, right? That we see in some other regions. This one is just, it's just like, I don't even know who could win the next match.
And it's all about, I think, this zone as well. SKYROCKET, who were being bombarded for so long, they had the patience not to really move further out. They tried once and they realized it didn't work. And then they said, well, we're just going to continue to do what we need to do to get that win. As we check out the next page as well and see where of course, these rest of the teams will end up. I think Road to Glory there, yes, in that 9th position. And 4K falling slightly further down as well. Not kind of teams that we expected, I think, coming in from the first 2 days to be that low on the leaderboard, but on the other hand of that moniker, it was an insanely difficult first game for all of these teams to play.
We had SKYROCKETs who landed into military base for the first time, right? Because OOREDOO Thunder's was not there. Pride, who landed in Noble Crates, where the circle did end. And it was such a kind of 180 from each other, where SKYROCKET, they land there for the first time, they came into Noble and won the game. Major Pride, they should have done so much better because they literally didn't have to travel at all. Maybe getting a little too aggressive, maybe in an area that they didn't know too well. And they went out so early and didn't get really any points that match.
Yeah, I think for Major Pride, they actually did do okay, I would argue, because they kind of control Nova, they kind of control that bridge, and they did have the ideas to go back towards that bridge, right, where teams were going to be there before. But I think for the rest of, I think, those teams coming in onto Major really did create a lot of problems on that entrance on into the zone. As we check out, though, our best of moments of the first match and get to see all again the direness of these teams all trying to make it through on into this zone, and Lord, a fantastic play, I think, at least from NIGMA, just saved this game from Melo.
Remember, at this point, he was by himself. He came up to the beach. Everyone else had been taken out by the likes of, I would say, 4K, by YALLA, kind of out in the water. So at least he was able to collect that one elimination point before he was inevitably found by SKYROCKET. Here we saw Rad. Remember that fight between Rad and Falcons? And I think Falcons did all right for, you know, being stuck on that side and still ending up in top 6 or so in that match.
Yeah, I think for such a difficult game, for SKYROCKET to be able to take that was well done. For all of these teams as well coming through on the other side, equally, I think, well done, considering that zone, as we said, just split in between the two parts of Novo, really did create a lot of tension in between how these players were going to try to navigate out from one side to the other. SKYROCKET, of course, so was, I think, the real hopeful, and Ali with a backstab onto YALLA really punished them majorly to allow SKYROCKET to get that win, but Triple to pick up those, of course, 12 placement points. Very important overall because, again, Triple YALLA, both of these teams didn't come in through that first Super Weekend with, I think, the most points overall. They were on that second half of the leaderboard, so getting those extra points are crucial, of course, to getting back on top.
Yeah, YALLA, I mean, we saw them have so much like mishaps in Sanhok, right? Because YALLA and GEEKAY, I mean, YALLA, I think the score is in their favor, right? When we see those Sanhoks, but really YALLA, they're kind of banking on these Erangel matches that are a little bit easier to predict, right? Because they land somewhere and not really buy anybody and still be able to get to the, I think they're one of the teams that, what they usually drop Severny. I have to look back to see where they landed this past match because it was a far playing path, but still able to get right into that top spots was so great for them.
Yeah, they did land up in Severny. I think you see that difference, of course, between that and R8 as well, getting in on that top side. But if you want at home to drop in onto your own games with some style, check out, of course, that Grizzly Bear card collection. Join the card collection, draw and win outfits. There's a chance to get all the pieces of an item in one go. Monica, you know which piece I like to go for. For the viewers, what piece would you go for? Are you also on the style, or do you want that flame, that fire?
What was yours? Yours was the helmet, right?
No.
No,
It's all about the style, Monica. It's all about the style.
Have style. Well,
but not as good as the bear outfit, though. Not as good as the bear outfit, right? Like that's pretty swag, Monica. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
you wanna hear? We were showing this last time around with Imperium, and I said something like, it'd be really funny if you came in like in real life with a bear. Like I was like bear outfit. That's what I meant, like a bear outfit. I said in real life bear outfit. If Imperium came in, and then he heard it as, are you saying I should come in here with a literal live bear on the path? Like, yes, let's do that instead. Like that would be very entertaining for all of us.
Might break a few of the protocols of broadcast, but I would also just say that if I had like a bear onesie, maybe I should order one, but like come in here with like the Grizzly Bear card collection completely ready for it. As we do, I think, have a Miramar game, as we said, coming up shortly, Monica. But I want to draw back to that first game, of course. All of those teams did have, as we say, a difficult game. But I think actually the preparation of these teams needs to be noticed, I think, from that first match, where a lot of these teams still focused on that main kind of middle point of the zone, you could argue. Would you say, though, that teams like that in that type of game were better trying to stay further towards the back like SKYROCKET had done?
I think it's some of these teams, they overcommitted to the central position a little bit too early, right? They, once you come into the middle, if the circle shifts off of you, because we do tend to see that kind of hard shift right in the middle of the circle. If it shifts off of you, like the teams that were kind of in the central position, like Rad, like Falcons, right, and it shifted away from them like that, it's so hard to kind of cross in those late game positions. I think not committing too early, it will give them a much better way to get in the circle. But then some teams who didn't commit early enough, right? Like the ones that we saw all in the waters, 4K, NIGMA Galaxy, all of them, there has to be some sort of balance that they need to find.
I think as well, when you see the regional star, right, it is so central. And on the other hand of that, when you look towards a game like Miramar, right, these teams haven't obviously played a Miramar game this week so far in tournament. So I'm curious to see again, are we going to see teams that play towards that central star moniker? Because if we start to see more zones where it is going to be difficult once more 3 squads to play out, I'm curious if we're going to see all of them group up and have that same issue that we saw last time where actually they get themselves stuck in a location. They can't really maneuver out of it. And that was really the difficulty of a lot of these squads.
Miramar is so different from Erangel, where it's so much harder to rotate. So yeah, I think it's always about balance, right? It's all about timing. So one really glorious rotation that could have saved the game for them if it had been executed 5 minutes too early or 5 minutes too late, it could have been totally, just not what they want to have at all. So I think it shows the more experienced teams, and I think our eyesights are definitely going to be on Twisted Minds that had such successes on Miramar before, but we haven't really seen much from them in the last couple of days.
Yeah, of course, in that first game as well, they kind of felt a bit forgotten about. But Twisted Minds, CONQUEROR as well, we got to remember, also now stepping back in. It was a very rough, CONQUEROR not making it, but Twisted Minds getting in, was a very rough week, we should argue, for both of these teams who do favour, I think, Miramar, and you can see that directly, I think, the issue for CONQUEROR. But on the other hand of that, right, you also have to say, well, they should be good at all 3 of these matches, and got to see if these teams can handle Miramar as we're jumping back in game to do our second match of the day here, and Miramar going to be the first time, as we say, we see it all week.
Miramar, right off the bat, I can see this is a very southern hugging plane path. Some of the teams going way further up north, they're going to be needing, okay, maybe it wasn't as far. It's always a kind of hard to determine when we just see kind of the plane going overall. Okay, so a little more casual than I thought it was going to be, but Island Wolf, I know you told me before you had one PMPL that you casted that was 7 Los Leones circles in a row. So I mean,
don't say it, Monica. Don't say it. I'm scared.
Don't jinx it.
I'm scared now. I mean, in this zone, as long as we stay away from Los Leones for the most part, I'm happy.
He's like, I already gave myself a bad rap from the last game. It's not go to Los Leones this time around.
We've already had one Highland Wolf-esque match. The max I think we saw it was about 3. If you add Zute alongside me, we tend to get all of the games being pretty mean. I feel like we've got that synergy of evil going on. Yeah. I'm hoping that Monica, you're bringing Imperium, that side of good towards us to balance it all out.
I was casting with Imperium. He's very much a glass half full type of guy, even when I was casting with Professor Tarzan, I don't know, it's Los Leones. It could happen, but it tends to be the people I've casted with recently, they're very positive, try to see the best in whatever plays or whatever rotations, and then maybe you're with me, the more kind of sadistic side, the more just kind of exactly. Choosing violence in the day and trying to see the violence in everything.
It's all about, trying to make sure these teams have a challenge. I'm a bit concerned. I don't think I could, write this in a script in Los Leones, the bang center of a map for phase number 1. There's still time. I'm still hopeful. I'm going to be the glass half full. And I'm saying that, where it needs to go, and we've not had it for ages for me, is Graveyard Finish. I mean, I don't know about you, but Graveyard Finish is such an interesting position. I'm hoping it's going to go there. It's obviously going to be hard to predict, but yeah, I'm hoping so.
Did SKYROCKET just disrobe? Okay, so he had the grizzly bear outfit on before. It's a little bit too hot for him in this desert area, so he's just gonna disrobe. But Major Pride, I think they only got 4 3 points in that last match, landing very close to GEEKAY.
Okay, I'm not biased, but I feel like SKYROCKET, they have to be punished for this now, because how dare they remove the Grizzly Bear outfit? I know, right? We've just talked about how amazing it is, and SKYROCKET, they tell me, look, we've had enough of your mean zones, Jake. We've had enough of your need for the Grizzly Bear outfit. We're just going to take the beat bus instead. And it's got like the beautiful little like bear like ears on it. I mean, I've never seen that.
I was going to say where the skin was removed here was thrown onto the Scooby-Doo bus.
Like
But no, that is not the true skins and everything for the Grizzly Bear in game. Don't get us wrong. But here we go, Twisted Minds. You know something funny that I found out while speaking to some of the members of Twisted Mind is so you know the twins, right? Vigors and Dami.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
They said that in game their voices are exactly the same, so they'll be in a fight, rotating or whatever, and one of them will give a call, and the teammates have to be, was that Dami or was that Vigors? Like who gave that call out? I'm trying to get where this information came from.
Yeah, and then you see like teammates. We've got to fix this. If I need one of you in, then only one of you can be alive, and then we know which one's playing now.
I'm gonna self-sabotage grenade one of my teammates.
Just for the clarity.
One thing their organization actually had them do was get different haircuts in real life, so when they took photos, they could tell the difference. So if you look at their photos, they're slightly different.
We didn't copy paste it. They are different people.
They are actually the same people, but I mean, it's cool though that being. It's always interesting knowing who is related to who's twins, because it seems to be every single region. I mean, I've known for a while that there's always seemed to be one pair of twins somewhere within the rosters, right? And it's interesting to see like kind of twin telepathy, their synergy, and how they may elevate the game because they grew up together.
Yeah, I feel like that's like honestly the strat, man. You just get like the twins on board, and they just got so much synergy already. I mean, also could work out the other way, right? Maybe they don't get on, so maybe like then they start having different ideas as well. And you're like, hello, like hello? One of you going in, one of you not going in.
What is not going in is going to be the only one any further in the circle, as NASR, the hyper aggression coming up on this red mountain, tossing the nades. I mean, this is kind of bad manners up here, trapping the only one up on top of this rock side. And I mean, this is so early game. He really doesn't have anything to defend himself with.
And the only one, I just called out here from a position when it comes to them trying to rotate. Now, you can see the rest of the only one. They're trying to come in and support here, and it's why, of course, Alush is buying time. They're trying to step back, not trying to engage onto NASR. But NASR, I like that they're continuing this push. They're trying to make sure they quickly do this in this fight, trying to punish the only one on their locations currently. Alush has an A prep, though. It will be tricky to land onto both. They find one, though. That's beautiful stuff. Can they get the second, though, onto Miracle? Is the only one looking for the angle. Miracle straight back down for now.
Yeah, Lush doing so well to buy himself some time as he's just begging for his teammates to drive just a little bit faster. Tosses another nade and gets the knock right in return. This is a two-piece Highland Wolf, and he is showing them why, even though I am the only one here, don't count me out yet.
Oh man, that's where you come in with a pan and you just slap him upside the head and say, NASR,
how dare you?
How dare you come in 2v1?
How dare you think that I'm just slim pickings as Alush? He's not done yet, and he turns his sights onto yet another member of NASR, but I think he's going to pass it to one of his teammates this time around as problems. I mean, all he's got is problems here because he gets put down onto his knees as well.
NASR at least going to return for one now, but it's not long-lived, as Ali will be the next to fall. Ziad will be able to punish that one through again, and it's a disaster. Batik is already on the run. You can see them finding the extra member in NASR. They will spot where they have disappeared for now, and will be on their merry way back in towards, I believe, more of his Los Leones side. Now, for the only one, they've got a great position currently because they can look over, I think, this northern side of Los Leones, and you notice a lot of these teams actually are playing on that more outskirt kind of side, not willing to probably go onto Los Leones this game, and I'm hoping it continues to stay this way, because even if we see a Los Leones zone, teams entering on this location, always particularly, I think, even towards the western side, where a lot of these teams will maybe make that wider rotation in is going to be more difficult. And I think that catching yourself locked down in the city by phase 2, phase 3, something that we want to see these squads avoid. But naturally, I'm kind of apprehensive for it because obviously the regional style, as we've seen so far, always tends to bring these teams very middle center quite early on.
You don't want to overcommit, but you don't want to be so uncommitted that you're so far out. So 4K, I mean, they're close enough to Los Leones now. The only one, they scrapped up 3 limbs just now onto NASR, but did lose 1 in the process. Then Road to Glory. I mean, they had such a great league play moving up into here, but didn't have kind of, you know, a very unmemorable performance in the first match. I mean, they're going to need some points here, as they also didn't perform that well last Super Weekend.
YALLA continuing to rotate their way through on this more kind of eastern side of Impala. A slower rotation for them as we check back up with the map. And a lot of these teams still to make that rotation in NIGMA, Rad, and also their SKYROCKET all coming in through the blue. POWR also making it out. But as we check out that phase 2, Monica, it's intriguing where it's going to go. I'm hoping we avoid Los Leones here. No, we're not. It's going to go again directly towards the center. So we are heading in towards the Cast a Curse.
I think every time you say the word Los Leones, it just configures the circle closer and closer to the city. So you're just kind of jinxing and cursing.
We need to change
yourself.
The name. Someone call Tencent. Like,
if you're a team like the Onier one, you're like, yes, keep saying it, you know, right in our backyard. But if you're a team like R8 that is still well up into the blue zone, they're like, please stop it. Like, we want somewhere a little bit closer to us to have a slightly easier, a little more forgiving rotation in this Miramar.
NASR as well, kind of staying prone right now on the outside, not really willing to move, of course, have been reduced there, Batika to the solo from a brilliant Season 8 by the only one. Rad still coming in as well. Heading actually in through that San Martin side. I think the Rad, don't imagine they're going to go through his Picado side. I would like to make them see a bit more of a wider rotation. Obviously, there being one squad already of R8 in the San Martin area, Rad now have to kind of rotate down that more south side in towards that western entrance. And this is where it does get a lot trickier for these teams with Los Leones now kind of the major point, and western side also being another major part of that zone, because it is going to be more open. You're naturally coming uphill from outside the city, and a lot of these teams will be positioned later on in these locations, warehouses and whatnot, where they are going to be able to find these extra angles, and especially in the city as well. You cannot forget the entrance on the western side always has those 4 and those 5 stacks, which teams can also take advantage of to again have that height advantage, information, and pin down players below them.
So many different layers involved with Miramar, and these teams really need to identify. Like, for example, right here, you sit there on a layer higher than R8 that was rotating right behind them in that, what do you call it, church area of Graveyard. And but if you continue to go here, I mean, it's just, somebody always has a higher elevation than you, unless you're sitting at the very top of the mountain. There's no one just floating above you, right? But POWR, they've got a little bit of a downhill slope from 4K as Golden. I mean, clearly 4K hasn't really had that much time to loot yet, as we see a red dot on that M4 trying to take those long distance pop shots. So, I mean, 4K, they were able to make it into kind of the mid-late game in the last match, but they didn't really have that many points to show for it. POWR, though, they're just kind of pushing on together. This is very on brand for POWR, right? They seem to just constantly on the move the first half of the match. They can't seem to just commit to one spot, but somehow it's proving okay for them because they're getting a lot of information about where teams are located around them.
And it's something actually POWR will do. 90th minute do it too, of course, them not inside of a Super Weekend, where they kind of actually split out. They try to make as much land for them and knowing information as possible in the early stage. And I'm actually a big fan of that, where they kind of circumvent the edge of the zone and they try to move around, not kind of heading into the middle, but still keeping an eye out on where the locations of possible entrances could be. And it's something I think more teams could try to be more aware of, rather than trying in a zone like this to come into Los Leones. You see making those big bold rotations, although they might be flashy, you see them again being punished time and time again. Now, unfortunately, this is more on the outside. NIGMA again making another later rotation, do get caught out by Major prior to coming down from Cruz to Valeria, just catch them on their own rotation down.
This is just the second match in a row that NIGMA Galaxy has just kind of stayed onto the edges. And I mean, NIGMA Galaxy, especially on Erangel, for landing in such a central position like Pachinki, they should have kind of the first rotation, first step into the circle. But as we saw last game, they chose to edge it from the center of the map, which doesn't, they seem a little bit, not mutually exclusive. But here we have Pride. They landed in Shumasera. They haven't moved at all, and NIGMA Galaxy coming through from the El Pozo side. I don't know. I think this edging, kind of slow rotating, is just not really working for NIGMA Galaxy, whereas before I always saw them kind of play that really strong central position. So I'm not sure where this change came about, but it's clearly not really working out for them.
It's something actually NIGMA have always tried to do. I'm going to have to hold my point here as Rad are going to try to look over onto R8. They're trying to punish down SK Ton, but does get himself behind the hillside for now. Looks like it's going to be a slow fight, but is also going to be 1-for-1 almost traded, as Delhap will get back behind the hillside, going down to half HP to a long-range nade. Is there Bandar getting caught out, trying to replace the position of their fallen comrade, but it's a 1-for-1 right now, and both of them kind of very far away from the zone. Keep in mind, this is still about the graveyard side, and the zone has shifted down south, outside of Los Leones, even towards South Hills. So this fight needs to be finished up now. Rod understand this, and this is why you see them rotating away, and they're trying to actually now look into the future to punish R8 at a later point by being ahead of him on their own rotation.
I think they're rotating them, keeping just the corner of their eye on who is it, Bandar from R8. I mean, he has that kind of overwatch. He's the one that didn't allow the rest of Rad to kind of crash down into the compounds where his other teammates were at. So, I mean, he saved them a little bit there, bought them a little bit more time. But yeah, like you said, both teams, they need to get out of this position and try to focus more onto the circle because it's a lose-lose situation. Hopping over, though, POWR versus Triple Esports. We saw a little tidbit of the fight happen before, but it's finally coming up right in your face.
Los Leones is going to be where a lot of these teams have already positioned. You've got to keep in mind, as we said, that south part of the hill is still available to a lot of these teams. POWR as well, also rotating in from this eastern side, should have an easier time. And I think that when you come towards POWR coming in onto the zone, they're not going to have to worry too much about that more issues of Triple being there. They can actually circumvent them by coming down, using that south side a bit more. But they are, of course, going to try to push bluntly through here. It will be a quicker rotation, and it's all about getting themselves into a better spot for now, which is why you see them trying to get your wires, as, of course, Triple aren't all that much together. They have now closed up more, and as isn't been able to find that first knock for now, they actually are now going to have to retreat back because they don't have that advantage of trying to catch out a single player. Whereas if you look at the members of POWR, they're extremely split in that T formation. They all kind of come back together now again themselves, but they're not going to be as fast at it as Triple, and that's why is now stuck in this position where Triple now have the advantage in the fight.
Did see that circle to the absolute horror of Highland Wolf shift onto the southern side of Los Leones up in those water tanks. So Triple Esports and POWR, we see this long drawn out fight from them. It is on the outskirts of the circle now, and I think Triple Esports being able to quickly identify that, just like Rad did before with R8. Disengaging, going for the circle as R8 find themselves, like a hurdle that they couldn't quite jump over, which was going to be a Falcon. Still kind of wide rotating and trying to find any entry into this space circle.
And I liked actually the position through some of these teams in the south end, as Team Falcons were going to get a position quickly on SKYROCKET as they were punished on their rotation through Powerful, picking out the two members there. But on that south end, the silos have also got more that entrance onto the hill of a few buildings there of the Los Leones edge. That's where a lot of these teams are trying to position right now for its advantages there of being a compound, of being that protection. The rest of that south side, very much going to be about a height differential again, as you said, Monica, earlier. These teams higher up inside the city already have that advantage, have that position to be able to look down on teams. Unfortunately, later to the rotations, like NIGMA, and these late rotations can be punished a lot harder because of the terrain differential of VISTA.
Now we see the teams that kind of committed to the city a little bit too early. 4K, the only one now neighbors that they didn't want to have right next to each other. And it's going to be difficult to rotate out of this area because outside of these buildings, it's just all open areas. It's the roads. We still have triple esports that rotated just a little bit in front of them to prevent them from getting in closer to the circle as R8 coming in hot and heavy. They lose one to GEEKAY. You cannot drive through the midst of a team just like that, as GEEKAY also losing one to R8. These two teams, just casualties on either side, as both of them still don't have a foothold in the circle.
Both of them being forced to send it in further forward. Of course, the zone closing in behind them right now. Phase 4 is coming into Phase 5 already. They know they have to make that move in now. They've both done it aggressively, but Ari, GEEKAY, only one can survive right now. GEEKAY have the advantage over IDA, and IDA can't even get themselves inside the building.
No.
It's going to have to be some fancy footwork. It's going to have to be the support of the rest of these players in. And that's why IDA trying to buy time here, trying to walk away from the nade. But Satan wants to finish off the play early on and will find it, and IDA will fall.
GEEKAY finishing out that fight with the help of Major Pride in the distance with a little bit of a third party on R8. So thank you very much, they said, as they get in their cars, rev the engine to start rotating into the circle. Pride coming in from Chumasera, just barely bunny hopping into the circle, still not committing anywhere yet. You know, they're still kind of sightseeing, they're still doing their house tours, trying to find where they want to call home. The only one cannot seem to keep all four up alive, as they're now looking to find a way into this next one with so many teams around them.
And this is a brilliant shift, actually. Not, I think, for YALLA. You may believe that they had a great position, but that zone centering up on them, very diabolical of a position for them now. RTG, they've got actually a great position to enter in onto this zone because they have the high ground advantage again. They can avoid a lot of these teams coming in. They have worked out the space for it. POWR as well, another one of these teams who are going to avoid these fights early on and may actually be able to clean up by having that little nook in between the hillside as well.
I can appreciate this 3 times on an M249, turning a massive magazine close weapon gun into a long range one. Up here, though, up in those water tanks, we see a triple esports not finding anywhere to call home, as we have YALLA stopping them from rotating any closer. And I mean, this is going to be, you got some rocks, you got some buildings and water tanks to call home, but there's a lot of layers and a lot of different outcroppings here that they can hide behind, as it's going to be crunching in on the southern side. 4K starting to mobilize and coming into, I guess, past the apartments here, but they have no information, by the way, Highland Wolf. They're rotating here all the way blindly.
4K, they knock themselves there with the help of YALLA. Gets one down, only one sending it in behind him, and it's a big drop down. The only one gonna snipe down, though, with the illusion member. One at least for 4K. Anaconda is being strike down next, but trying to strike back they do on a knock with the help. Will punish through, the only one for their later rotation, but YALLA, they're trying to defend their own position. Triple will fall as well, up to 3 eliminations for them for now, and it's about defense for YALLA. But on the outside here, you can see all of these players trying to find a position inside of their zone. Cur12, one of the few, unfortunately, though, outside of their own compounds, and that's what makes it difficult. They need to continue to move here with teams coming in from the north side behind them.
Cur12, there's one of those teams that are finally here for the super weekends, and they weren't able to get that many points in the last one, so this is their chance now to climb on up. On the outskirts, we have, though, look at how much control POWR has over this hillside where Road to Glory, I mean, their Road to Glory has had a tree fallen right into the mist because they can't come any closer. Nabu, their new in-game leader, looking over the top, puts one down onto his knees as POWR. I mean, this is going to slow down their push, and you can see them all just receding back within the safety of the houses as they reset and reconsider this fight that they're having uphill at Road to Glory.
And minus that knock from Alahahe, and as is, unfortunately, now is Lord from behind seems to have caught them out. It was a beautiful position at POWR of control over Road to Glory, but unfortunately now with that extra knock through from NIGMA from the opposite end of the map, now RTG need to use this time to move further forward. They are doing so, but J9 gets still put away as Alahahe revived, but he didn't, I think, go quick enough. Nabo also trying to go in individually, 2 different sides. It doesn't work. Unknown at least finds one for return, but has to heal, and VanKid knows it. Is going to try slowly send it up, but now they know that there's not going to be any more coming through from Unknown, as they will use this to punish, while though POWR Kids, or VanKid should I say, potentially looks to go for a revive. I'm surprised they didn't, because it looked like they were going for it. It's as this actually picks up Kante instead. And Vankid will reposition now in the fight to try and put out a new point of pressure that Unknown doesn't have eyes on.
I think Road to Glory is just Unknown couldn't hold that kind of overwatch position and sent his teammates down to their depths, running into the open. YALLA, no, they see Falcons crashing into the sides of the water tank areas. Falcons, I mean, they have half of them needing to go for a revive, needing to get into the circle, and the other half focusing on this pesky team who's crashed up right behind them. Falcons never alone, just misses out on a knock, as now they're kind of hopping a skip, trying to get a little bit closer, but it is just so hard for them. The last member of Road to Glory does fall.
Major Pride, an interesting position in the center of this zone, have gone straight down for it, but the roads, you can see that there's still 3 roads in play, Monica.
Yes.
And this is the tricky part about it, is again, we got a similar zone where trying to navigate from one point to the next is so difficult. Now all of these teams who played on the edge need to move continuously further down here, but we're on phase 6 and they have no choice but to continue to move. You get caught in this zone, there is no moving anymore. You have to continue to heal. If you try to run, you will succumb to the blue.
This is where the keeping of the resources to the end could prove very fruitful. Pride, they're all within a little dip, all 2 of them together as Curd12. I mean, they're throwing the grenades, they're throwing everything that they've got short of a pan right into their face as Falcons pushing up and able to eliminate YALLA.
Big nade by Major Pride. They score 2 knocks there onto aggressors, and that's going to buy time as K12 punished now in their own pit. As Team Falcons will, of course, clean out their own engagement, get themselves up to now 4 eliminations. But with that, the zone is caught up, and now it comes down to healing for Falcons. Can they outlive the rest? As NIGMA, NASR also going to be doing the same here. NASR stepping through. Falcons will find the next one. Yusuf barely keeping ahead of the game, but it's K12 there. I've got the resources, have got the revives back. They will find Falcons as well. Down to our final 4. NIGMA on the edge. Lord still healing. POWR still on the south side as well. But there comes the extra nade through from Major Pride. On top of them, K12 score out 2.
Major Pride just kind of putting all their eggs in one basket, and by basket I mean that little crater at the end of the road, and one lobbied nade does put them into the ground. Curd12 really setting themselves up so well in this match, and now you see them getting confident. They're fanning out. They're the only team with still 4 players up left, and I want to really highlight Lord for still surviving to the end here as a solo. He's just waiting here, right? He wants a fight to happen between POWR and Curd12 to hopefully be able to come in third party, something, maybe just steal some elim points if he can. So he's just going to be waiting on the edges. POWR is starting to mobilize now. They don't have the circle. They're going to be coming in hot and heavy as Curd12 watching over the look.
Curd12, they've got everything in their hands to win this game. All 4 players, they will split 2 for 2 for now. Lord being caught out, will find out high. The surprise there. I don't think POWR believe there could be an extra player, but best believe it's true. Kante will also fall to Lord, and Lord going to take the second position, but Curd12, they're all over them. They know it's the solo player. They know what they got to do. His M goes down, though. Maybe they can find one more elimination point for Lord. Tries to revive, tries to reload here. Mohammed now moving in next. Can they find it? Yes, they do the second. It's going horribly wrong, but the back end fight saves it. It looked like Curd12 could have lost, but finally setting it all in together, it does work. Lord, second place. Curd, get the $1,000.
This is actually the story of redemption, because the 2 teams that have won the first 2 matches of this super weekend were both teams that did not qualify for last week. So really coming in strong, turning the tables onto them. At the very end, you actually saw POWR, how they got in the cars and went towards Lord. I think they were able to identify, like, hey, here's a solo over here. I think it'd be much easier to go take him out and guarantee us a second place instead of taking a fight against a full man team of Curd12. But man, maybe they should have gone the other way, because Lord took the 1v2 and took them out.
Look, he also took out another 2 almost there of K12. They were on a roll in towards the end of the game. You can only imagine if they had more players, Monica, what NIGMA maybe could have done. Of course, POWR falling into that 3rd position, getting caught out at the end. As we check out our overall standings, will move them down to that 4th position. NIGMA taking up 3rd, but Major Pride quietly but effectively 10 elimination points alongside Kurd there with 9 at the top.
I like how you said quietly, because I was looking at the 12 eliminations and was thinking, when did that happen? I mean, they had some fights against NIGMA Galaxy at the beginning. They took out, I want to say it was Rad along the way, and then a lot of those eliminations came at the very end. But I mean, Kurd 12, 24 points in the 2nd match, and that 1K cash prize for the Chicken Dinner in the Super Weekend. Such a great performance from them.
And YALLA as well, even though they only get those 2 placement points, again, big scores when it comes to elimination, 7 for them in total. They get themselves up to that 1st page with the 9 overall points. But as we said, it's about those teams that are coming now on top even more, Monica, and needing those points. They're getting them now. And NIGMA, I think, another one of those teams, surprisingly, that we could put under that category, getting, as we said, that 3rd position. But as we, I think, check towards the 2nd page here, I suspect, again, Monica, we are going to see potentially some of the upsets here on the other end. SKYROCKET from a fantastic 31-pointer into nil point, and then also Rad and RA again struggling here when it comes to finding those crucial points.
SKYROCKET from coming off, like you said, a 31-point win in the previous match to a big fat goose egg here. It just kind of negates the massive, I mean, not completely negates it, but at least cuts it in half, right? So basically they got a 15 and a 16-point game across these 2 matches. So, I mean, they need to play a little bit more consistently here. The SKYROCKET, I think they engage a little bit too early at the beginning. And maybe, I mean, this is kind of a theme, right? The team that does really well, I think this is kind of the kind of curse, right? The team that wins a previous match tends to, I don't know, just fall completely flat in the next one.
Look, I mean, it may be the curse of it. I've seen it in tournaments before, hoping that SKYROCKET can redeem themselves. That as much as they may be above that average, Monica, they still need to worry. If they lose another game out like that, they're going to start to fall behind that about average. As we said, about 8 points to keep on board. But as we check out our best offer moments of the 2nd game, we'll be back with you after a short break for Erangel once more.
Yeah, boy. I believe I can fly.
Enemy spotted. This needs to stop now. Come here.
I'm dying.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
هو بوت ما ضربته ما عرف يسيبه. لا
Welcome back, everyone, from our break here at the PMPL Arabia Full Split 2022 season. My name, Harlan Wolf, joined alongside Monica. We've just had our Miramar match of the day. Now we're back over to Erangel, but it was a good Miramar match overall there. Curd 12 picking up that chicken dinner.
I think so. I mean, to our glee, right? We saw that the two of the teams that did not qualify for Super Weekend last weekend actually won the first tier this weekend. So I like how the tables have turned and give them a fair run for this overall standings that we're looking at right now. Still, though, GEEKAY sitting right at the top.
Of course, big wins for GEEKAY. Twisted Mindset also up to that 155-point mark. But as we see those changes in the standings, squads like OOREDOO now falling because, of course, they cannot make their points up this weekend. And Major Pride, YALLA, with those two games so far, also up to that 6 and 7 spot. So these leaderboards beginning to change, and I think even going to change more so on that second page, Monica, because that's really where it does matter on making that qualification.
Yeah, right above this one, though. Another one that had fallen was CONQUEROR Iraq, sitting at 119 points. So technically, NIGMA Galaxy is tied with CONQUEROR. I think the limb points or the placement points were the tiebreaker right there. But they are also one that is falling. And another one that is falling again is going to be 90th minute. Remember, they sat at 100 points from last weekend. They're not in for this weekend. So you see the teams that didn't qualify from before. I mean, I think they're still not quite within striking distance yet. They're still at that bottom kind of 4 spot, but they're getting closer and closer. And remember, the only one we had said they started today with 70 points. They're kind of that benchmark last place. They've only gotten 7 points across 2 matches.
Yeah, and of course, as you can see, those next moments of those teams also trying to make those 100 points. But if you want to make those chicken dinners yourself, well, it's down below the Oppo Reno 7 with the upgrade performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphones for PUBG Mobile, Middle East and Africa Esports 2022. But you need drinks to go with that phone as well, Monica. And well, what better choice than Monster Energy, our official energy drinks partner for the PMPL Arabia. Monica, we are shortly in, though, to our third game. We're going to jump straight on in to that playing path. What are we expecting out of this third match?
Well, we're expecting these players to haven't drank their monsters and be ready, but once again, a very similar playing path from that first game, kind of hugging that southern side. And remember that first game today, it ended up in that Novo Crates area. We had Pride jump there, which is a little bit different from their normal drop spot up into that South Georgia Crates area. We'll see if they'll go there once again. It looks like not though, Jake. I think they're betting. They're like, okay, the game used the luck and pushed to this side. No way would it go there a second time in a row.
Just don't mention it, Monica. We talked about this last game. I'm scared now. Like, hold me. I'm scared.
I mean, we know it. We got caster curse. We got winners of the previous game curse where they don't do well the next match. So we'll have to keep our eyes on Curd 12 that won the match in Miramar. But you're just like hands over your eyes, like slowly peeking. Where is this first circle?
She said it again. She said it again.
Not again. Not again. I mean, it's we're waiting here. We're counting down the seconds this time. But let's SKYROCKET. Obviously, that proved very fruitful for them because they actually won that first match when they dropped here. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see them jump here a lot, and it's got a nick of that military island on it.
Look, it's not going there, okay? We decided, sure? Monica, yeah, we're 100%. Like, this is Gatka Field's territory. I'm feeling it. Like, I'm pretty sure. What I think is interesting is that playing path, of course. Keep in mind it was very southern. All right. They've actually decided, because 90th Minute aren't playing in this weekend, to go down here towards that very south side of Primorsk. Now, I think that is a very idealist kind of move from them. Obviously, Georgia Pole, again, kind of not available as much for them, so taking up advantage of other teams not being here. However, it is going to be trickier to rotate out because, again, you see RTG taking that quarry side, also going off the same strategy, and Triple making that big move, that big split, though I'm kind of worried for them because you can see there are a lot more teams here than before.
Another one with a massive split is going to be NIGMA Galaxy. You see 3 of them landing into the Pachinki areas, and Hamilty, I don't know, maybe he parachute malfunctioned or something, but he's across the entire way over into the farm area as Twisted Minds, another team that we know has performed well in previous Super Weekends and is just, I don't know, just falling real short right now, and I just can't remember anything they've done in the previous matches.
Still, Rods continuing here to potentially get themselves caught out on a 1 and 4K. Anaconda also going to be another one of those players split out and will be punished for it. Rod going to strike the first elimination away of the third match and going to continue to move in their own direction here up towards this more eastern side of the kind of hills there, coming in towards prison and towards that shelter side, as Rad naturally do end up doing, and towards the end of the first phase. I think for these teams coming in again from the east, going to be interesting, as we always say about those rotations, because naturally you do want to try look at possibly the wider rotations of the north, the south side as well. And I think actually that south side, Monica, that Sanhok Island, is finding one of their own, is also another option for these squads, because they have the zone there in first phase. Now we could actually use that as a leverage point to slowly navigate their way properly through that South Island and avoid the main central belt.
Oh man, that was definitely a clip that belonged in that kind of meme highlight clip commercial that we saw before. It was just road to glory, just J9 completely caught unawares, coming up to the second floor, and then Triple Esports, I think, just peek it out, goes for immediate knock and flush. I think it's just kind of a what just happened? Like, where did you come from? Rage quit kind of situation. Because anybody would be mad if that happened to them.
You come in, you're thinking, look, I've got another 20 minutes to play potentially a PUBG. I'm ready for myself. I'm warmed up. I've got the thumb gloves on. You know, is that what they do these days? Maybe I'm a bit of a boomer. I'd like to think I'm the zoomer here. Of I think at least me and Imperium. I won't say
Imperium's the self-proclaimed boomer, so you can he's already wearing that hat. So
I know, right? He wears it with pride, right? I mean, there's the boomers who don't really know what a boomer or a zoomer is, but in Imperium, he's got the dad glasses on, you know. He's got the shades.
He's at least once a day. It's the dad joke that comes out. It's the if you open the Wikipedia dictionary for boomer, it's Imperium's smiling face right there. So all in good fun, and I'm sure if he hears this back, he'll be like, "Come on, guys."
No, he won't hear anything. I mean, he's busy, right? He's away. Like, we get to enjoy the show now, so we get to cyberbully a bit of Imperium this time.
Safe for now.
Yeah,
Safe
for now.
For now.
until he rewatches the VOD, and then we're in trouble.
Like, oh crap! Just tell him, don't listen to the first part of match number 3. Yes, just don't listen. Just don't tune it out.
And it's totally boring. There's nothing to listen to. Is also the only one, as we get back on track here, are making their own rotation through that central belt that I was worried about, Monica, because a lot of these teams tend to do this big, bold rotation coming through the center early on. Not often I see it work as I think well as those wider rotations, because you see them then get caught about 2-3 minutes later in a fight, in a skirmish. It slows them down. Then they can't continue trying to scout for that information further in onto the zone. And then those wider teams later on, they just come in and completely steal those positions away.
Well, it's about the timings, right? So what a rotation that may work for them, let's say 2 minutes later, if they're caught off guard now, you just need to be setting yourselves up where you're not blindly rotating into a space, where you're setting yourselves up, get on top of a high vantage point, collect that information, even if it's for 10-15 seconds, just a quick scan around the horizon to see if there's any teams, and then kind of bunny hopping your way instead of just, hey, from A to B, all at full speed, go for the middle of the circle type of deal. So Twisted Mind coming in from the farmish area, past the Potato Hills, and just coming in on kind of that southeastern Pachinki hillside.
In these teams, slightly slower, I think, game so far. I mean, NIGMA really could have, I think, contested potentially doing one, but then knowing that NIGMA are a very slow team to make that rotation in, going to allow them to get by here, as well as it looks to be the edge of Twisted Minds. Also making that rotation through further as CONQUEROR beside them, going to make that slower rotation behind mainly the majority of Twisted Minds. There was just that one off member who will catch out the information. So the rest of, from Ragnarok's point of view, going to have to make a quicker kind of foothold, trying to hold out on CONQUEROR's position if they do decide to go further in. Ragnarok could come in behind and pincer. So that's, I think, smart by there. Also CONQUEROR, maybe having spotted that extra member of Ragnarok to not continue that big push further.
Falcons, one of the teams that I guess they're going one by one, right? SKYROCKET, Falcon, CURD12. These are 3 teams that did not make the last Super Weekend, and currently 2 of them, that's going to be SKYROCKET and CURD12, have won a chicken dinner. So I mean, I think it's Falcons' turn next, wouldn't you say? That they can kind of follow that pattern, and maybe they can get a chicken dinner and get a little bit closer to. I mean, the only one currently in that kind of danger zone, as they're the bottom of the rankings from last Super Weekend.
But do team victories also count alongside the zones? Is it just like your magic word? Is it like, how Glitter always says a team and then that team wins? Are you like Glitter Explosion for this broadcast for us?
Yeah, I do like that. So we did see 4K. One of them fell out of their cars, right? We saw that just happen. Road to Glory up on the... Okay, so this is you called it central kind of Gatka hillside, right? Very hopeful situation happening there. Once again, we keep saying the only one keeps losing a player way too early. We do have that circle. Okay, it did shift that. I mean, it is on that main island, but we saw that little sliver of the military island.
You're worse than me, Monica. I thought I was evil, and then you're like, it's gotta go there. It's gotta go. That little sliver.
I think the casters always balance themselves out. It's the more evil and violence choosing I am, the more positive you need to be or you just subconsciously become to kind of even it out just a little bit. I'm just hoping for the worst, and you're in return is hoping for a little bit easier of a circle for these teams.
Guys, Monica, we've had one zone already. They went 50-60% water, right? I mean, I like to me as of Novka Island. I also think that Gatka, though, equally difficult in its own right, to be fair, is it's very open. It's very difficult to continue those navigations around. Now, you're really looking towards those positions like RTG, who have those hills on the edge of Quarry, gonna be able to look over a lot of those Gatka hills. Also, I think if they had made a little bit of a wider split, they could have also taken advantage of that northern side too, where they can actually take an eye on teams like Major Pride, but they still maybe have a slight advantage in that idea of that northern end, but it's not going to be as much had they made that split. And I think on the other hand, it could also be very smart because R8 also in the area, may also try to punish RTG if they decide to make that big kind of split in between their players. So RTG going to play it safe for now.
Road to Glory, though, yeah, playing just a little bit safe, I think, just hugging kind of their edge of the circle. Major Pride, though, we saw them, they decided to go back to the stomping grounds of South Georgia Pole Crate, so they're going to be coming up on that northern side, which should be a little bit of the lesser congested area, just because with the southern playing path, they went all the way up north. They should be okay, but YALLA is another team that kind of lands in their general side of the world up in Severny, so we might see a little skirmish between these two teams rotating a little bit closer together, obviously because they started in a very similar situation at the beginning of the game.
Maybe that is also GEEKAY there, up towards that more observatory point as well inside the Gatka field, so they'll also have, again, another high ground advantage of a position. They'll also have that information on those teams rotating further on. Teams, so further out behind, like Rad, of course, who have made those slow rotations. Major Pride, as much as they've got Nomi inside the center, all of the other three of those players are going to be very far behind. Unfortunately, Lush, or the rest of the only one as well, going to lose their life. The SKYROCKET find one, and it might be the worst here as Triple. Almost Clever finds that extra knockdown, and that would have been disastrous for the only one if they had lost another.
Man, they're just, I think everyone in this lobby is just taking their turns picking on the weak link in this match. Is going to be the only one has problems running for his life, trying to, he just disregarded his vehicle, gets in with his teammate, and they're going to go sending it across the field. And like you said, all open areas here, maybe a little hill, maybe a little dip, or one little broken down shack to call home. But I mean, this is the third game going that they've just lost members at the beginning and just couldn't come back from it.
In NIGMA, who have moved out here away from Pachinki, you can see in the middle now Gatka feels in amongst all the rest of these players. Phase 3, we'll have to see if it will continue to go there. Instead, it goes down in towards Quarry, in towards Ferry Pier. Now, alright, they've actually taken control of this hill. They've gone for this split, so a major win of a position. I also think that Triple could also take a really good position here. They need to move, I think, further back towards the tree line, just above the ferry pier, where those are caused extra bunkers, those extra little bits of support were added in Erangel 2.0. If they don't do that, I think we're missing out on an early rotation. Power, on the other hand, too, need to kind of get in away from this center point. Fighting now GEEKAY as they step over Satan. Lose one for GEEKAY for now.
Power, they land in Gatka. This is their backyard, so they want to come and defend it. GEEKAY coming in from the Razak Watertown area, losing two. Actually, not losing quite yet, but down onto their knees. The other two, Hope. He's going to need to come out big, throw the smokes down, get some time from his team. We'll hope there's not a third-party situation coming out from YALLA, but you see a Molotov come out from Conte, put right into the middle. No mercy at all for GEEKAY. I think it's just licking them as Satan might be not long for this world, and he is bleeding on out.
Barely keeps themselves away from the molly. That was crucial. Slightly further back in Power, might have just got themselves a double elimination. GEEKAY will, I think, try to hold back from this fight. Both of them know that they can't really take it. So for now, Power, they have the pressure, but they also need to worry about teams coming in behind them. YALLA is also behind this fight as that potential third party. RTG is on the front of them. So as much as they may also want to escape, where do they escape to? So potentially both of these teams having locked themselves into a big corner.
Big corner that Power is in as Road to Glory, now cornering them into the opposite side of this hillside. I think Power, they got that information. They knew it was GEEKAY they were fighting in, and then they immediately start going on the defensive, running away. So I think finally getting that information of, hey, we're fighting the #1 team in this lobby. I'm a little bit scared now, but ran right into the likes of Road to Glory on the other side. So just not a great situation here, and I think GEEKAY, they've identified this, and Power trying to escape as well. Just get out of this area because it's a lose-lose situation in total.
And Power gonna lose their lives as finally GEEKAY have found a position through, but they also lost Ragnar. They've also lost a second, so big losses as they lose out Ragnar, particularly the core fragger of the team. So more defensive approach may be utilized now by GEEKAY to survive for the rest of this match. So NASR also gonna fall, lose one in the elimination feed. El Hahe there also to RTG, but it's a major fight potentially breaking out as Rad going to lose one already to Triple. And they've not even closed in Clever yet.
This is where Rad went and took one player away from, I'm forgetting what team it was, but they're camping up on top of the stairs. Rad crashing up on the backside now. Currently one player is knocked to kind of play the little ring around the rosy, trying to find a different way to engage onto this fight. But I mean, they're fighting for the very, very edge of the circle. I mean, it's not going to be within the next one, so they want to clean up this fight ASAP, because for sure they're going to have to rotate after this one. Rad up on the second floors, getting the revives, but Triple Esports, they're already pushed out of this match already, so it's going to be a 3 versus 4 once Rad resets.
Guarantee SKYROCKET are going to come in third party this if they spot it, because you can see SKYROCKET, they're actually going to nab away that position on the hill that is so crucial that we talked about. It's going to be a major point of contention because of the survivability it provides, because of the high ground it provides at this point in the game, having centralized on it, and stays away crucially as well from the center of that zone where a lot of these teams may be positioned. Now Ra Triple, having lost this position as well, will try to both equally fight it out. Raj, you could argue, well, why didn't they just go for that position anyways? Because Triple are behind him. Triple, the moment they see that Rad move away, Triple would come and punish.
Well, Triple Esports, they're fanned out, spread out. YALLA, though, will switch over here. The last player, I want to say, of POWR, holding on for dear life, but YALLA puts him in his place and takes the Kings of GEEKAY out of GEEKAY. Indeed, a fanning back. Rad, that's still about to erupt into this fight. The utilities come out as Rad is trying to get a hopeful opening knock onto Triple Esports. He's got the nade, he's got a second one. They're committing a lot of resources to this fight, so they really want to win on this because they put all their cards on the table, right? They want to win this fight so they can collect the resources that are in the crates of Triple Esports.
I believe I saw 4K as well rotating behind him, so Rad staying on the outside of these buildings on the sides could prove fatal if, as we say, one of those third-party teams come and they spy out a Rad member. Eagles going to be lost to the elimination of the play zone for now, as Triple still stalemated on this fight, going to maybe need these third teams, there's 4 teams to try break it open.
Triple Esports stuck between a rock and a hard place. That is Rad and SKYROCKET. I mean, they are close in the miniature map, but there's still that little hill between them that they don't have visualization on here. If they can, you can see them in the card, maybe come and encroach just a little bit closer, just at least to get the information, but maybe a little bit of a third party rip. Looking to say rest in peace to some of these teams down the hill. I think he knows it's a full-on drawn fight. They know the circle's going to shift in a little bit, so he focuses back on his team as we shift NASR stuck in the valley between multiple teams.
In R8, they've got complete control of this quarry exit. In NASR, they know it. There's nothing that really can be done. The nades going in will find Miracle. Ali, very, very low indeed. One more would do it. They go wide each left and right. Is now Triple back onto the fight versus Rad. Come in further forward. Find the aggressive plays. They take down 2 for now. And Rad, they're losing their health bars. Rex will be the last to fall. And Clever will loot up the cash.
Man, Triple Esports, they really stamped and graffitied their names onto the walls of this compound because they are not letting this one go without a fight. And this is going to be the second time they've taken members of another team out in the same building. Triple Esports racking up 6 eliminations now. Circle about to shift as Road to Glory focuses on Falcon, trying to rotate right in front of them. But they cannot forget about all the teams lingering behind them. That's going to be NIGMA Galaxy, all the ones looking to take them out of this lobby. The Southern Circle shift, though, all these teams are shoving their way in.
Big high ground finish for this third game. It's 4K in the center of it all. Can they keep it inside their control, though? It is a crucial question. All of these teams still outside, still below them. So for now, 4K going to be at ease, but they've already lost 2 players, and that's going to make it very difficult indeed to hold.
I mean, they have the central position right, but only 2 players. That's going to make it ever more hard. It's hard for a full man team to hold that sun because everyone is coming in close and personal. Twisted Minds just cannot get over their hump of the day, and still, yet again, another poor performing game. Not a lot of points that they had as SKYROCKET still keeping their corner of their eyes onto Triple Esports down below. 2 left alive from this team.
Zone at a standstill for now is SKYROCKET. They punished an extra of Triple. 4K gonna lose another as RTG there in the elimination feed will punish at least 1 for now, and big split, of course, through from 4K. So they're going to have to lose out on the information over Falcons on that more western flank to make the revive happen. YALLA might also fall here to RTG. Bumper has the angle as well.
The insane angle from up top. YALLA Saif able just to land that last shot just to the corner of the window onto 1 volt down below, as Saif taking that car resource away from them so they can't have a quick rotate in the circle. Because if you're looking at the miniature map, Road to Glory, they're still not quite within, and they have YALLA looking down at them. They've got all of these teams in the general area as NIGMA Galaxy uses this opportunity while Road to Glory is distracted to quick rotate in. This is such great timing coming out from NIGMA Galaxy.
And it's crucial because RTG, they're not inside of that zone, so they lose out on that opportunity with the revive, as you say. Now, NIGMA, on top of YALLA, can continue to punish. And the J9 goes down again. It is a disaster for RTG. Is that zone? It's just about to hit them, but NIGMA know they need to move further forward. They need to send the rest of the other players further in onto the zone, and the work has been done. And they should continue to boil and soil out. The rest of RTG they just cannot catch a break.
Road to Glory, like you said, no mercy for them whatsoever. They focus on YALLA and they get shot in the back by NIGMA Galaxy. They focus on NIGMA Galaxy. It's the other way around. Road to Glory, they've got 1 player left alive, but the distraction is taken on by GEEKAY in the background, getting some shots in the back. But Road to Glory, their road ends here out in 10th position.
Bad position for them, but not so much of a poor position here, as the zone has gone here towards Major Pride. 4 eliminations for now for them. GEEKAY up towards the north side and caught in that skirmish for now. Major not really willing to make too big of a move, as R8 coming in for the back end provide that 3rd point of pressure. Now Major turning their heads around as R8 sending it full in. Bandar trying to find the 1 elimination, but will lose their life themselves. And now R8 will send in the rest of this cavalry, will send in support, but they still haven't taken care of Frozen. SK Ton from the other end will be able to draw out an angle, and they will punish Yin as well. It's Milky Way will also be knocked, and it's all down to Nomi, the only one remaining in the hands of Major.
Pride was just picked the worst spot here because it was just a terrible, rotten sandwich between the likes of R8 and GEEKAY on the northern side, just getting shot from either which direction. So now these 2 teams, after clearing out that side, R8 focusing on getting in, forgot about the solo, which is going to be Falcon, just camouflaging into the grasses here. ID7 trying to find him out, does get the last couple of shots as he quickly hits a deck and tries to heal on up.
Very big work done, though, from Falcons to take down almost Cider as well. The help of the 3rd party completely mitigates any forward progress from Ari in this game. Down to only 1 player is now NIGMA. They did lose 2 knocks as well themselves earlier on, but they get themselves back into fighting form. But YALLA are still there in the high hills to control them.
And who's lingering in the distance? It's going to be SKYROCKET looking to ascend even higher into the stratosphere. 4-man still on up, as they do have one of the strongest player teams, actually, in terms of numbers. YALLA giving back actually getting traded from this player from SKYROCKET, throwing some smokes in the distance, trying to, I mean, they need to save their teammates because they're only 2-man standing, as R8 is also trying to get even closer.
Easy and Salam, but much more focused here on R8, who also have that secondary angle on them. So losing the 2 in the front line to YALLA now allows YALLA to move further forward in this fight. And suddenly, SKYROCKET, they aren't in such a great position at all. No. They lose 1 kid completely out now, as the extra bullets will fly through from Bumper, and they're down, confirmed to the duo.
Flew too high, ran out of fuel, and now crashing back down into Earth in a ball of fire back in his Lamborghini, trying to get away from the onslaught of YALLA as they find Rip. It's going to be 1 left alive, and it spoke a little too soon, as they're also, with the vehicle explosion, taken out, this time in 6th position.
Brilliant work through from YALLA. They're even going to catch on and knock down, and they know it's a solo. They're going to go hard inside. Will find a punish, won't be caught back away, and will find the elimination. 9 now for YALLA, and it's YALLA looking like they want to steal control of this game. Darwe, the solo for 4K in the midst of it all, trying to survive.
That was such a critical push from YALLA, now taking the best position in the map away from SKYROCKET's R8. They want a piece of this one too as they're raining their shots. They do find the knock on to Safe, who was doing so much pain onto all the other teams around them. So R8, they're using this time to try to come on in, and this is going to be what NIGMA Galaxy does best, finding the timing to creep on and use this distraction to their advantage.
In R8, they almost fell down to Falcons. Now it looks like for the side of R8, they could maybe steal this game away. They've got the 3 players, and NIGMA, Lord, might just pull out a Falcons-esque move. They do. They find life as well. And that is dire for YALLA Esports. Boompa even going to be confirmed by Lord. And 7 for NIGMA now as they get themselves inside the top 4. It's a mega point game for them.
Lord really showing us he's that clutch player that if you are down in numbers on your team, you really want Lord alive, because this is the 2nd game in a row. He's just been playing by himself and is able to get those 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3 to really climb up into the standings. 4K though, waiting in a bush. Literally about to ambush R8 if they creep any closer. But we're down to our top 4, Highland Wolf, and it's getting so congested in this late game circle.
Solo down to GEEKAY to 4K. It's all up towards R8, who have and should have the control of this game down under their belts. But NIGMA, they're the rogue players here. They're also with the solos, the ones that could upset R8 in this 3rd match. Guy maybe knows that something is up around them with Rove looking down in this direction. Lord as well, keeping an eye on Lord. And sorry, should I say the rest of R8 here?
Alright, Darwin, he's holding his breath right now, moving a muscle as RA. You hear the shots coming out from the side. Looks like Raw Wolf may be able to identify where the one lone player of GEEKAY is at the gate. We've seen GEEKAY. They've been down to 1 as a solo. He's like the equivalent of Lord on NIGMA Galaxy, where he has the highest survivability, that real clutch factor for his team. But R8, they're still sitting real strong at the top of the hill with 3 players still up.
And R8, big nade sent through, only will tickle Lord. And SK2D1 crawls their way further forwards. Hesitant, but still keeping themselves down. The backpacks all off, mitigating the opportunity to be seen. NIGMA, now also another nade from the other angle, gets sent in from Geif. And NIGMA, they're moving about a lot here, making a lot of noise. And that's going to help Geif even more. They find the angle. They tried to find Ralph. They will. They had eyes on them the entire time. And Lord is stuck in a 1v1 versus SK2D1. SK2D1 knows where Lord is. Prays through the grass. Will be able to get it. And now NIGMA out and away. But here comes the extra snake. It's a 4-way snake battle. It's Darwe will fall. And R8 down to 2. Geif is the only one remaining who can close out this game. Bandar is not. But nothing else could be done upon the rest. Will get the elimination point, but I think that's all said and done for this game. R8, they find 1. They won't be able to get the next, though. R8 still clutch it through with the chicken dinner.
I thought we were going to see a repeat of the 1 versus 3 to win the match from GEEKAY, but looks like R8 putting a stop to that one in RA. I mean, that was such a great win from them, and I really want to highlight their most pivotal play in that match was taking on the full team of SKYROCKET, taking on the best spot, and being at the apex of that mountain, looking down at everyone below.
Look, for the side of R8, they needed that game. They were falling down on the standings. They had a poor game there on Miramar, so the confidence rejuvenated through from the R8 squad to get themselves those $1,000 as well. And Monica, it's now the standings really shaking up, though. We've seen a lot of flip-flops through from, I think, the different overall standings throughout the day, where teams do well in one game, they're not doing well in the next, then the next one they're doing all right again. And that's not really, though, the consistency that we need from, I think, some of these teams who I want to highlight still who had a poor performance in that game as we check out those overall standings.
Yeah, we need to light some incest, call an exorcist because everyone seems to be cursed today. But GEEKAY, I would say they're the most consistent team throughout today. GEEKAY just, I mean, they're the #1 team on the overall standings, but they're showing us why. Even though they haven't gotten a chicken dinner in the last couple of days, they're every single time almost, they're always in that top half, and they always are able to collect the eliminations when they can.
And I think as we highlighted some of those teams who need those points, SKYROCKET do get those 9 points on board for themselves. As we said, RA getting that big boost to their overall scoreline. And is, I think, the only other team here that I really think I am impressed, particularly more so than the rest by, is probably 4K and YALLA, who 4K on one hand needed those placement points. Very, very good by Dari to survive, not move an absolute inch. But then YALLA on the opposite end were all about that aggression and scoring that 9 elimination points for them.
Wow, we love to see a team that can place high and get those high elimination points. But let's take a look at the second half where the teams, on the flip side, these teams doing well. Let's look at the ones who didn't do too well either. Looks like Pride once again. I mean, Erangel just doesn't seem to be their map, which is unfortunate because we play so much Erangel today and for the rest of the weekend. This is their second Erangel match. I believe they finished 9th place.
And unfortunately, a lot of also 0 pointers from these teams who overall, I think, did have a tricky position getting in onto some of the zones for a few of these teams. Falcons, who, as we said, needed those points too, Monica, didn't get them. So falling behind, keep in mind, as we also noted, Cur12 and also SKYROCKET have already got that win, already got big games under their belt. So a lot needs to be done. But I think it's more surprising considering that Falcons, one of the veteran teams who have played all the way back since the spring of last year.
Falcons is a team that they seem to do well in the league plays, right? The weekdays. They did really well earlier this half of the week, but they haven't gotten that chicken dinner. I think I'm feeling the desperation kind of come out of them now, and I'm seeing kind of these desperate plays where they're like, we really need to get this chicken dinner. It is getting very, very stressful for them.
Very stressful indeed, but they got Sanhok out to come where all the tables can be turned as we check out the best opera moments from Erangel, and we'll be back with you after a short one.
take you back. Spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Who got it? Who want it? No problem. We mob it. Belly of the beast. There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition. Living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing everything you dreamed of.
Welcome back, everyone. Here to the PMPL Arabia. 3 games down, 2 to go here for the second Super Weekend start. Is myself, Helen Wolf, and Monica alongside with you, but also the phone down below with upgraded performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Oppo Reno 7 Pro 5G. The designated smartphones for PUBG Mobile Middle East, Africa, and Middle East Esports 2022. But what better way than grabbing not only your Oppo Reno, but in-game with the Reno itself, the, of course, Grizzly Bear card collection. Join that card collection draw in-game and win outfits. There's a chance to get all the pieces of an item in one go, Monica.
I want to see somebody with all the SKS skin, the parachute coming down, the hat, the helmet, everything. I want to see someone in a classic match. So if you guys haven't gotten it yet, you have until July 6th to do so. Wear it with pride.
Look, I mean, we're about to hit into what is going to be probably our proudest moments of them all as 2 evil casters who want the zones to go into diabolical ways. It's Sanhok next, Monica.
They should put that, you know how PUBG Mobile does meme clips and stuff. They should have us and put like the 2 purple kind of horn devil emojis just right on our faces, because we like to be entertained and we want to see them. And everyone, all these teams are just like, please just stop cursing us with these bad circles.
Sanhok, whether these teams like it or not, though, we're jumping down into the playing path and we are ready to go for all of these 16 teams. They should be used to it by now, though, I think, because it's been a very Sanhok heavy week.
Sanhok heavy week, and again, the spots that we're always looking at is boot camp, of course. We see YALLA, we see GEEKAY. Will these 2 teams still... I mean, I haven't seen either of them to give it up yet, and it looks like I think I can, if I squint my eyes a little bit harder, I can maybe see 2 teams landing into the midst of the city.
I think it's going to be very interesting, though, that they again continue to go through this location together. Also, judging by the fact that you do have these teams who aren't playing, of course, there's only going to be these extra spots available to them. And as much as I think that YALLA and GEEKAY both fighting here does create action, it is going to affect those overall standings. Thankfully for both of them, though, they are fairly high on that first page, so aren't going to have to worry about too much like some of these other teams who need to pick up these points. Kampong going to be the other one where Falcons, also keep in mind, going to be doing battle versus Major Pride. But the first one we're going to check out is, of course, Boot Camp.
What I've seen both teams do so far, they send 3 into the main and then 1 into the side, but this time it's going to be YALLA to send all 4 right into the main building. This time GEEKAY. I think that this kind of hugging that northern side. I think only one time did I see a fight not actually come out, and both teams kind of exited the city very peacefully. But Gaith, he's their entry fragger. He's the one that took out multiple members of the teams in that last final circle in that last game. So he's still running hot, right? Blood rushing through his veins. And we do see an almost fight about to happen between 4K and NASR.
A lot of potential fights happening here. More so Anaconda being caught out as they have gone for a slightly wider split here. And Also, NASR, a massive split, might I add, as well, from their overall positions here. So, could be a little bit of a risk coming through from them, judging by the fact that Batika is so far up north. However, 4K, a major split is going to affect them. I think naturally surprised that teams haven't tried to catch on with that yet, considering that 4K have done such a risky strategy like this before this week as well.
We saw it 2 days ago. Pride and Falcons still landing in Kampong together, and this actually ended up being a stalemate situation to the very end, 1v1, and it was Pride to actually win out. So, I mean, they wasted so much time in the city to just lose all their players. NASR, though, does come in and evict Anaconda, the snake in the basement, out of this building. The bad manners, or the conservation of ammo, punching him out of the lobby.
Exactly. Pest controllers there, and NASR here to clean it up. GEEKAY, YALLA, though, they've got to pest each other here inside of this lobster building because both of them kind of taking up either other side of each of it for now and taking up arms ready for the fight, but none of them really wanting to take it completely. Now, which of them going to move first for the meantime is we do hit that stalemate.
Stalemate indeed. Somebody in this chess game needs to sacrifice or make a move to
send the queen
try to turn this, send the queen bombing into the middle of the pawns and see what will happen. And that queen is definitely going to be gate their entry fragger that usually tends to open up the fight on the front lines for them. The other members of 4K though, they got the targets on their back as NASR. I don't know if he knows that there's somebody just hiding in this building here, but they just heard the footsteps. They're coming crashing in.
It's a absolute misery for 4K in this fourth game. They did split up. They did get punished as we expected. NASR just moving from house to house, evicting each one of them. Down to 2 members for 4K. And here, Pride as well, catching out potentially one in the crossing. But it's Milky Way who gets caught. A surprise doesn't work. And it's the 2 members of Falcons who come back. And it's Falcons who strike first in down among Kampong.
Seemed like such a fatal mistake behind just a lone wall for cover. Pops out to the right, does a little bit of damage, but then obviously announces position and then goes it for it one more time. But Frozen getting a little bit of quick revenge, getting enough to remember and going for immediate flush. But they also have another one falling down, so it's going to be 2 versus the 3 of Falcons.
Crucial there also, they don't lose one back. Frozen keeps themselves alive. Never Alone will match for that rotation is Yen in between the 2 of Pride have also been knocked, so it's actually essentially solo for solo. But Nomi much more in danger here is actually Falcons. They group up as 3. They will look to flush out here the solo player of Major Pride. Nomi realizing it, trying to step back to a more behind position. Yen as well has now got themselves around for potentially that revive, but Never Alone. The rest of Falcons, they're closing in even faster.
Falcons, though, with their piercing eyes, trying to find the information. He sees one laying prone onto the ground, and oh man, that was almost a mishap, but does find him out. I think maybe just wasn't listening quite close enough, didn't hear somebody in their back footsteps, and once again, putting Pride down to a solo. Frozen this time. I want to say he was the one who won the 1v1 yesterday with Falcons in the blue zone, but now he is sent running for his life as everyone else is going to go, just helping him from the dead, and he's going to be playing as a solo.
Frozen is staying here for now. I mean, we'll loot up the unfortunate dead body of one of the fallen members of Falcons, and they're going to play it sneaky. They're going to go inside of the truck, so maybe we'll try to survive here for now and hope that Falcons do not spot them, move on for the campaign, keep them alive. The alternative, of course, Frozen could at least catch out maybe 1-2 members, but it is extremely risky considering they are early on. They don't maybe have the tools to make that happen. GEEKAY have made them move forward. They have sent themselves all of the 4 queens inside. And YALLA, they are the pawns that need to move now. They have the onus on them. This is GEEKAY face checking.
YALLA, they're playing on the defenses as they hear the footsteps erupting all the way around them coming out from GEEKAY. I mean, YALLA, if they can do what they did yesterday, which was win the fight, turn the tides. They had a 1v2, I think, to turn the tides into their favor. They could win this one out again. But GEEKAY, I know they're playing confident and they want to beat YALLA out of this area before they make it into the final area. Gaith, he's got the flashbang actually throwing it into the likes of YALLA.
will stop the halt for now, but it will dissipate. Keep in mind also flashbang being used to maybe silence the ability to hear the footsteps of GEEKAY, or YALLA, should I say, actually. So it is important to know that the flashbang not only blinds, but also removes the hearing ability of the opponents, which allows now the rest of GEEKAY to continue to move about, kind of unchecked, as it were. Won't be used right now to find that flanking point, but another may be used in future to do just that.
Looks like they're going to just hold their breath a little bit longer, as they see in the kill feed. R8 finding the likes of POWR onto the other side of the mountain. We also have Rad here. Looks like Triple Esports, though, being just the thorn in the side of everybody within the lobby and holding Kato, not being able to exit out of this area. So push. I mean, he's laying down the pain right up towards the cave area, but haven't made the connections yet.
And Rad will be pushed back here, back into the building. Here's Triple. They claim control over the high ground, and it's a big long-range attempt onto Delhap. Won't be fruitful, though, for now, but does give the position away. As Rad, you can see, trying to make some little sneaky plays happen themselves, but Triple already there to answer.
Triple Esports. I mean, you see him zoom in, zoom out with the 6 times. Maybe I changed my angle. I can see him a little bit better. So Rad. I mean, these smokes. They're quite the rarity on Sanhok. So to be using them now are really going to just take that away from them for the later game stages when they need to make that quick cross into that final circle. Here we do have Delhap. He's just waiting out on here. 4K looks like on the other side though. Rad fighting off a little bit more that they can chew with multiple teams fighting against them. Yeah,
we'll use the smoke to get around a rock. Very smart use of Rad patiently getting back to the motorbike, so we'll be able to re-rotate back together. And for Rad overall, a very smart way to claim victory back towards themselves as a team in that small skirmish versus Triple, who are kind of left without nothing really being able to be returned from it. Still, keep in mind, the zone in Phase 2 has gone continuously back towards the main point of the mainland Sanhok, but the fight's still continuing to happen here. Or should I say, really, a standstill. Not really a fight for now, because it's 9 minutes and a half into the game, and not a single knock has happened.
This is, YALLA is currently in the positive. They're in the green for the number of times that they fought in bootcamp, so they don't want to ruin that streak. And then GEEKAY, they don't want to dig themselves any deeper of a hole by losing it one more time to YALLA. So both these teams, what they're pushing all of their cards onto this one fight. So maybe, yeah, we're winning bootcamp or not, but they're losing the time that it would take to rotate, and they're starting to mobilize Highland Wolf. Maybe we'll see some action yet.
A 1-for-1 finally as the 10-minute mark breaks through, but YALLA, they were being pincered down by GEEKAY. They have the better angles on top of them, and they will lose 2 more. YALLA Life is the only one available, and it's so quickly gone wrong for them, and Life cannot find the QBS shots as they will fall further back. The only one remaining.
DBS and Hanny goes for the flush. It's going to be one gate, or Lath actually left alive from YALLA as he pushes back with the Tommy gun. He's got the extended mag onto it and switches once more time on the DBS. I mean, he can't make up his mind at this point. Flipping back and forth, going for the flushes, waiting for someone to come out into the open in the doorways. Another one about to go face to face. The DBS comes out, he gets the knock, and it's going to be a 1 versus 1 to close out this fight.
Has the angle as well. They know that Satan is there. Satan makes the move further forward, but Life gets a heal off. Can they find a DBS shot once more? It's now Life holding on the window, waiting for Satan to be baited further in. Will not be the case, and now will find a revive onto Saif. No, it won't be. Will let them fall. Life as well down below. If Satan maybe decides to step further back for now, Satan will also fall down. Will Life go for the revive? Not really sure. Will finally go for it. No, they won't. Life
will he, or
putting
will
all the
he
cards on their own.
I mean, $1 million question of the hour, Highland. But Satan, I mean, he's going to push now. He's going for the aggression. They just get the revive out, and it's the drop shot from YALLA to finish out GEEKAY. So one more time, putting the tally on YALLA's favor. GEEKAY, they just can't seem to win this fight in boot camp.
Yeah, it was just a smart decision by actually Aggressive Life to finally go for that revive later, and it was just a wrong target check by GEEKAY. They hit the wrong member who's already down and can't fire back, and Life they're free to open up through the staircase. GEEKAY fall down as R8 also making their moves down from that blue zone, very high up north too in the Paradise Resort area. SKYROCKET will join alongside them. Is here finally also GEEKAY reduced down to 1. And you argue on the other hand of that, although YALLA should I say, come out on top of that bootcamp fight, Monica, the damage is being done. There's only one player and they have no position in that zone.
I think they get the 4 eliminations right off the bat. They get the, bragging rights, the kind of, hey, we won boot camp again, and really solidifying their drop spot there. I think at this point, GEEKAY needs to reconsider this, right? I mean, Sanhok is only 1 match played per day, so maybe they can afford it. But I mean, if I was GEEKAY going into finals, if this fight is still happening, I would be considering a different spot to try to get that first place in the finals. And
it adds up. That's 9 Sanhok matches through all the super weekends. Keep in mind, in the finals, playing 2 Sanhok matches per day. So 6 out of your 18 matches that played to crown potentially your championship here in PMPL Arabia. Making a risky decision like that really isn't the idea that you want to go forward into doing. And I think that very quickly in these next 2 weeks, a different strategy has to be made. RTG also going to find their own potential fight here versus Twisted Minds, but they lose 1 already, Twisted, and it's a quick reverse back by Nabo.
Their underwear twisted into a vice grip from the likes of Road to Glory. And Road to Glory, this is their map, right? This is where they feel the most confident, getting 2 chicken dinners on Sanhok just a couple days ago and a huge, massive finish in the last. So, I mean, their IGL caught a little bit off behind, a little slower on the rotate, but they know how to play this map for sure, and they're not keen to losing 1 too early.
And it was crucial that RTG find that punish. Had they not found that punish, Twisted Minds, they quickly come in and sweep the floor with the solo player. So it's smart also to get behind the rock. So great knowledge, great awareness by RTG. The covering points there, such as Volt, to be able to answer. But Twisted Minds, they've found them, and it's about where are those extra members of RTG before Twisted can move forward.
SKYROCKET's really taking the hearts of everyone today as they come back with a vengeance in the super weekends, winning 1 and having a massive finish as well in the last Erangel. But R8, they're the ones who won the last match, so they're coming off with a lot of confidence and wanting to continue their streak. SKYROCKET's, I mean, they're 2 in a car driving towards R8. They get the real critical knock onto R8, and it's gonna push the kind of gatekeeping from this team.
And for SKYROCKET, is great moves come sweeping behind. Rip will be able to find the extra punishes, you say. Now SKYROCKET take advantage of the fact that R8 are split, cannot fire back either. And it's both of these teams making that longer route round onto the north side, but SKYROCKET stay more together in respecting the fact that they are later into the zone and they have to be 1 unit to be able to push in.
Rosa in hand, spraying it through. He finds a knock onto 1 member of Falcon and goes for the immediate flush. No mercy at all, but it's going to garner all of the attention from the rest of the team, which is actually only going to be 2 Falcons left alive. Downhill, Darwi might have a little bit of a vantage point, but we have the 1 hiding in the water way in the far end side. But, I mean, Falcons, I'm saying it's their turn to win it now after the other members of the other teams that didn't make it super weekend won their chicken dinners, and so far not setting themselves up well.
Big nade returned either way. Darwi sidesteps it, so does Damar. Of course, needs to try find to Swiss cheese bullet holes through onto the rest of Falcons, but they won't be felled so easily, as much as, unfortunately, Never Alone did fall down. Damar tanking Rovat Blue and has to now stop for the heal, so Darwi with the advantage, but also keep in mind, only 1 first aid kit in the back pocket, so we'll be using it for now, and stuck in a position where now Falcons have the push.
Super stuck. I mean, he's bitten off more than he can chew, because now he's really just kind of super glued his feet to the top of this watchtower, can't really get out of this position. Damar is going to be just wait. I mean, this is the waiting game. He's got the high vantage point, nowhere to run at this point, as we see a lot of action in the background. It looks like the only one versus Kurd 12. We've seen multiple numbers do fall down as the only one. I think inevitably they did win the fight, but Kurd 12, man, eliminated 2 early out of this match.
And Kurd just getting felled very, very early on. Is will fall down into the bottom position. Not a single elimination to show for it. The only one as well on their north end, still continuing to make their way in. It's going to be down towards Lakawi here, and the coastline is going to be where we finish off for this fourth game for the most part, as NASR in amongst those few buildings, though, elsewhere, are finding the rogue members of NIGMA, saying you will not hide in this game.
We will not hide. We'll make our presence well known over here, as only 2 players left alive from NIGMA Galaxy. Again, seems to be a pattern along the same with the only one, where they're just losing too many members at the beginning, and they are forcing themselves to play debilitated for the remainders of the match. NASR, they barely have their foot in the door of the circle. It's certainly going to shift away from them once again, as Falcons and 4K looks like, oh, they did find that uphill. They did find that one player of 4K.
And Damar was smart use, by the way, as well, who used the adrenaline actually previously to be able to heal the damage that the blue zone was doing at this phase 4 point. So had the actual advantage when it comes to being able to make more moves inside the blue, whereas 4K actually did not. They had to continue to heal and stay standstill. As fortunately, though, for Damar, as much as I praise him, may go down to Golden here. That extra damage should flush him out with the help of the blue. Yes, it will. And Golden, as quick as it was success for Damar, puts an end to it.
These 2 teams are just holding each other's hands in a tight grip outside of the circle, literally shooting themselves in the foot, as both teams are only 1 player left alive. We saw that circle, it ping-ponged to the north. I mean, this circle has just, it's like a pinball machine going from the south to the north, and then, I mean, just all over the place, and these teams just cannot keep up with it.
And a big northern shift up by phase 5 as Falcons finding pride. They step up very, very low indeed, powerful. Will chuck a nade in, bounces back in onto the face of Frozen. Not sure if they've noticed it. Will dodge it out, but can't dodge away from the bullets. Can't away dodge from death as Mitch Pride will be the next to fall. And of course, this high zone shift moniker is going to send a lot of these teams forcing their way in.
And of course, who do we see as a full 4-man with, is that 7 eliminations? I can't read, it's a little bit small, but 7 or a lot of eliminations found by SKYROCKET. As, I mean, they're doing so well to stay up alive and keeping the 4-man team up and really position themselves well to close out the matches. Triple Esports, another one. Very great effort on their part. Still 4-man up as well.
Yeah, so 2 eliminations there by SKYROCKET, so they do at least get a few under their belt, but they can easily get more with their position on the edge as they are searching. Also, Triple searching for that position over on the car. We, of course, understanding a lot of the teams making those wider rotations more inside of the open Lakawi. It's not really a compound where you can navigate as much as easily through as others, as it is much more like those kind of parasols behind underneath them, trying to fit between one in each, as NASR will not allow Viral to step further forward, as Ali inside the blue will succumb to the blue zone itself, but not before we take one out. It's also NASR going to lose their lives. SKYROCKET losing themselves as well, as Triple Clever finds one.
Suddenly all the giants do fall down, as we see so many teams eliminated at the exact same time. SKYROCKET's losing one as well, getting the reset. Oh, what was that throw? Bounced off the doorway, came right back into their faces. Triple Esports, though, taking the time here, still getting the reset down to only 2. So I think I jinxed them a little bit, Highland Wolf, because I said these were full 4-man teams, and now all of a sudden they're only 2 or 3.
It's all about trying to make that position work inside the zone, but there really is nowhere to hide. It's the outside of the zone where these players need to survive. There's RTG, Road to Glory, stepping in amongst the smokes, but it's not where the only one are hiding. It's behind the rocks with Ziad on the flanking position, but it's the only one who are needing to move in onto the zone. Here, back far away, though, on the south side, is Raouf, who wins the 1v1 trade as well versus Raden. That's crucial, because as you can see further down, Lorne's been tanking that zone for ages, and now Raouf will provide that stability further in, as Alush also going to lose themselves.
Road to Glory. I mean, Sanhok is their match. We saw it in league play earlier this week, having 2 massive chicken dinners all on Sanhok, as now they push with all the confidence in the world, trying to find this last player of the only one. He's just hiding, sucking his breath, trying to if he could dig a hole in the ground, he would at this point, because Road to Glory, they're on the right side of the blue zone, and he's just tanking the blue SKYROCKETs, putting a little bit of punishment back in the direction of Road to Glory.
You said that they may get 7 eliminations here, Monica. They're up to 6 now, and they're searching for that one more. You might have just blessed them here. SKYROCKETs are looking for that control in the zone. Is unfortunately the only one succumbing to the blues with the pressure, but it opened a doorway to SKYROCKETs.
SKYROCKETs, this is just the redemption arc for them, as they are still 3-man. The Molotov, no, Raouf is on fire and not in a good way, but he just gets the meta off, the clutch one that actually prevented him from going out too early. Now Road to Glory changing their attention onto SKYROCKET.
Crucial for NIGMA, but SKYROCKETs are getting blown out of the water by the bullets of RTG. Wanted is the only one alive. Finally, they will lose. Also, NIGMA, their own is RTG. You said that they control Sanhok. Oh, golly, do they do just that? And it's 8 eliminations for themselves. Back down towards 3. Still going. 8 still, 7 remaining. This man has been healing for the last 6 minutes, Monica, and he ain't stopping anytime soon.
I mean, if it's a map to do it on, it is going to be Sanhok, and we see this happen when we have a full-man team. They just dominate this end circle. I mean, this is the strat to do. Even though they're a little bit low on eliminations, only 1, he just outlived probably the last 9 placement points, and I would love to know, I'd be delighted to know how many first aids he started off with.
Look, if he's using about 1 every 10 seconds here, Monica, how much does it take to have 6 minutes? Is that ridiculous amount of potential first aid kits he has? I mean, NIGMA, they're keeping themselves alive. They're still going. I mean, this is about as chill as you get, just vibing. We're just sat here watching Freak in his natural habitat. He sips on in the Monster Energy. J9 also going to do a dance, just living it up to that success, as RTG will finally get it. $1,000 in their hands, the 15 points too, and that chicken dinner, winning all the same.
Name a better duo than Road to Glory and Sanhok, because time and time again, they just dominate this map. I mean, they came in from the quarry area. They rotated here. It wasn't that far from them, a little bit further than some of the matches from earlier this week, but I mean, we should just go in predicting every single Sanhok game is going to be Road to Glory as the victors.
Look, RTG, I had my doubts, Monica, coming in, considering their position, but they proved me wrong. And as we check out those match rankings, get to see there's 23 points coming through from them. But you also have to argue that for SKYROCKET, another big game for them when it comes to the 16 points.
We see Sanhok usually tends to have a little fewer in elimination points comparing the other maps like Miramar, like Erangel, just because it's just action after action after action, right? You just can barely wrap your head around it. So it's a little bit more spread out amongst all of the teams. So 8 eliminations found on Sanhok is such a huge number indeed. And Falcons, I mean, just need a little bit more to kind of climb up in that double digits range.
NIGMA as well, having a good game, getting those 13 points. Of course, the 12 placement points that Lord was able to pick up. Again, Falcon, those 7 points going towards them will help as we check out that second page show of the Sanhok game. And 4K going to lead the charge in that 9th position of 5 points. But I think for Kerr12, who equally, starting this weekend, needed to get off the beginning pedestal, 0 points here in Sanhok will not help them.
Not help them indeed. 0 points. I mean, so we kind of have the curse of, you know, they won the second game, came in with a 0. So it seems like no team can really play consistently all the way around. But that goes to show how kind of balanced this region of Arabia is. That, I mean, they could all win the matches, or they could all go out in first as well.
The overall standings as well, we can see here, have changed. GEEKAY, though, still on top form, nevertheless, 190 points. But for NIGMA, they moved themselves massively up today from that second page, now in 5th position.
I mean, GEEKAY, they're 10 points away from hitting the 200-point benchmark, which is such a healthy gap between them and second place. On the second half, though, I mean, CONQUEROR, 90th minute, they're slowly falling down more and more as they are a team that is not in the Super Weekend and cannot help themselves to get any more points.
Of course, lads, if minute falling down to 15th, and as you check out that last page, Monica, of course, the likes of these three other teams, SKYROCKET, FALCONS, CONQUEROR, all vying it out, but 56 so far for SKYROCKET, doing a lot better than the rest, but gotta see if they can all keep it up for one more game, because it's Erangel next, but we'll leave you with the best of moments on Sanhok before we get there. Welcome back, everyone, to the final game here, where we're going to be hitting up on Erangel for the PMPL Arabia. But myself, Highland Wolf, and Monica are not alone. We have again the beautiful Opera Reno 7 below us with upgrade performance and upgraded fun. Celebrate your winning spirit with the brand new Opera Reno 7 Pro 5G, the designated smartphones for PUBG Mobile, Middle East, and Africa Esports 2022. Monica, you know it. You need to drink with your phone to be able to have that energy. And what better than Monster Energy, the official energy drinks partner of the tournament?
We're going to need the Monster Energy. The players are going to need the Monster Energy to keep up with all the hype and all of the action that they've shown us so far. I mean, we saw some very unexpected teams getting the chicken dinners and climbing higher on the leaderboards. But then, I don't know, some of these other teams that are at the top that maybe they need to take another sip or something to skyrocket them. You like that Skyrocket, who's done really well so far, but skyrocket them up higher.
I see the big brain, Monica, but I mean, Falcons, they do really need a sip of that energy because realistically, they are the ones in the danger zone, down in that 19th position. Incurred 12, a 0 points there on Sanhok, but it was opposite so for RTG, a big game for RTG, getting that big win on their belt for Sanhok once again.
Road to Glory is just, I think it's partly they land in Quarry, which is such a central position across the entire Sanhok area, but it's just every single Sanhok match, at least in my recent memory, they just won it. Or I think they got a massive second place or something in the last Sanhok match of league play. So it's just, I mean, they're going in every single Sanhok match, they're expected to win. But I mean, at some point, some team needs to knock them down a peg in their Sanhok matches.
Yeah, and I think those teams are really starting to improve as well throughout the tournament. I think as we do jump in here to Erangel, it's been NIGMA Galaxy. Now, Erangel hasn't looked their strongest, but that Sanhok match, they've definitely steadily improved. And as we said through the day, the biggest improvement overall coming from that second page, now in 5th position overall.
We got Erangel, but we got a very similar playing path that we've seen already today, right? But I think it's up to where this circle is about to go. We saw the very, I mean, crazy Novo crates that was the first match today, and then the second one landed kind of out in the, where was it, kind of Gaka-ish, Quarry-ish area.
And I think as well, with this zone, playing path, should I say, again, another south one is going to really deter a lot of these teams from moving up towards that Georgia Pole side. So I'm suspecting, again, we may see squads like potentially R8 tend to go for more of this kind of Primorsk side, unless they try to change up. Maybe also teams not utilizing that South Island as much as I would have actually been expecting these squads to, considering that first game, there was a lot of heavy contention over at South End, whereas nowadays, Major have actually spotted it. Well, if R8, they're going to go down south to Primorsk. Actually, now Georgia Pole is free, and they may do that again.
So we see some of them sending up over the top. We've seen Road to Glory usually goes Yasnaya when Falcons is not in here. So I think here they just don't want to take that heat, don't want to contest that city against a team like Falcons. However, on the back end side of that, we do see, I want to say that's Yalla actually driving through the midst of Road to Glory, trying to get all the way up to Severny. So, I mean, we've seen a lot of drive-bys today. I'm wondering if they'll just kind of allow it, ignore it, and just continue looting up for themselves.
I think what is a very kind zone for now in the beginning of this final game, it can obviously go down towards that South Island, but much more likely that it will be through that mainland portion of Erangel. I'm interested to see if Triple will continue to stay around that western bridge, as they tend to be a bit more split out early on, but considering phase 1 here coming into phase 2, maybe will contract themselves to focus more on more of that lighthouse position, focus more on the westerly bridge. Also, I expect a lot of these teams on the east equally to kind of hold their position. I don't expect too many teams to try and move forward into the mainland portion of Erangel for now, considering that all of them are waiting for that second phase to see where it really will go.
Major Pride, you know, the plane path was so far to the southern side, they've all just kind of crammed into one vehicle and then started driving up to that South Georgia Pole area, which, you know, is out of the circle. So they're definitely gonna be one of the latecomers coming in, where, you know, driving all the way out, having to come all the way back in. So we'll see how that sets up for them. We see NIGMA Galaxy, though, landing in Pachinki, probably one of the most, you know, like, people hot dropping Pachinki in classics type of deal. But I mean, I'm expecting a lot more from them. They slowly clawed their way a little higher in the overalls, but I'm waiting for a chicken dinner from NIGMA Galaxy.
Enigma, they've been, as we say, slowly climbing, and they got very close. Of course, that second position, Lord excellently healing out for what felt like an age to get to that second position. And this time, though, as we say, Pachinki, they tend to play a lot slower again here, and teams tending also to leapfrog them in their position to focus more on then NIGMA trying to break through these teams later. I think that it's a different style from NIGMA. They've always been a very slow team when it comes to the edge of zone. I think, though, on the other hand, teams passing them Pachinki, then having to do more work later, it just feels like they're playing it a bit too slow.
Yeah, definitely. I usually see that kind of play style coming up from a team that plays more edgy. YALLA in Severny, or even SKYROCKET now going down to the military base side of it. GEEKAY, I mean, this is your number one team. This is kind of the shining team, right? The one that has 3 chicken dinners so far in Super Weekends. You get this average survival time, and to give you kind of some sort of perspective, the Erangel matches, they last, what, 31, 30, 32 minutes, depending on how far it goes. So to have a 23-minute survival time, that's a lot higher than some of the other teams that we've seen shown, you know, 16 or even lower survival time, which is not a lot of time spent in the game.
And I think as well, when you talk towards GEEKAY, and I think this also goes for actually not just them, but the rest of the organizations that are new to this season, is it has been a very impressive showing by the new dogs, stepping in front of teams like Falcon, of RA, who haven't done potentially as well so far in the tournament. And I think for the likes of POWR, the Major Pride, for GEEKAY, all of them in their own right, as we say, very aggressive teams, and almost increases the level, which surprises me. I don't know about you, Monica, but an aggressive region already into something that's even next level when it comes to the aggression that these teams are putting out.
I don't know how much more aggressive they can really go beyond just full sending into compounds and such, but the only one, I'm a little bit hopeful for them, because I mean, every single match today so far, they've just lost 1 or 2 or even 3 way too early, to the point it was just one player trying to survive all by himself. And in this kind of PMPL high-level lobby, you can't really just 1v4 an entire lobby like you can do in a classic.
Triple still continuing to loot up, but of course, a lot of these other teams are going to continue their looting phase. They have moved here, Triple, into more of that triangular formation, so beginning to, as we say, close around more of that western bridge as we expected to, trying to avoid teams contesting on the second phase, because they do want to have that control, that choice in the decision of where that zone will go. Of course, SKYROCKET as well, a slower team, keep in mind, over on that South Island, the only ones will have to make their own decision crossing either on that western bridge, where it looks to be kind of facing out on Triple for now, or depending if it goes towards that second phase, that more easterly side, I expect him also to change it up and head towards more of that east end itself.
NIGMA Galaxy, probably their quickest rotation, I would say, of the day so far, coming out of Pachinki. Remember that first game in Erangel, it was a 15-minute mark onto that Novo crates circle, that they were still sitting in Pachinki and just starting to get into their vehicles to rotate. So here, at least exiting out of the city, I think they found themselves a pretty central position now. So I'm hopeful for them. I'm wondering, though, how far can they fly in this match?
There goes around, of course, the rest of Twisted Minds. And I think for Twisted Minds, one of these teams who we said potentially coming into the Super Weekend, right? They now have Miramar on board. They have the opportunity. They've been a very strong team when it comes to that first Super Weekend. Is it now that first day nerves, or potentially that psychology hitting them down? Because, of course, keep in mind, they barely qualified. They came in 15th position coming into this league stage, and they haven't actually had a good game so far either. Today, they've been one of the few teams that haven't had at all really any points to show.
Curd 12, they've landed kind of in that general Milta area, still staying in the spot. I think they've done well where they're just kind of coming a little bit out of the city. They are, it looks like, just kind of hugging down to the beach side here. Remember, this is a compound that Twisted Minds has taken up multiple times, so interesting to see them not take up this little shark fin compounds here. But yeah, Curd 12 coming off the win in the second match. I haven't really seen them do quite as well yet, and they just have little points here and there, but definitely just that second game was their shining glory of the day.
Indeed, as the second phase finally will shift, and we'll get a bit more clarity here, Monica, on our final game of where this zone will be going. Very, very subdued for now, as RTG, Major Pride, RA all going to continue to make their way in onto the zone. SK Ton there for RA already claiming that high ground hill on that more quarry side. Will have that information ahead of them as the zone did shift over to that eastern side. So we are going to see another potentially eastern side finish in SKYROCKET, I assume, as we expect, alongside the rest of these other teams, all going to head that way in towards the bridge.
All right, you know, I have to point out, there's still a little bit of the military base island.
Oh no,
in
don't, Monica,
like, oh,
the
no.
last game.
Oh my days, not again.
We got one more game and we'll get through it.
We'll do it one time. I'm gonna be laughing hysterically. It's gonna be the one game of this entire Super Weekend, or knowing our luck, it's gonna be the finals where it actually happens. The teams are like, please don't call that now.
Oh, I know, and they got us for the rest of the Super Weekend as well, so it only gets worse. So, I mean, they've got a tough Super Weekend ahead of them, I would argue, is Curd 12 are all going to be in together as Shaq, as NIGMA will rotate behind them for now, of course, trying to look ahead towards Ra to control more of that farm sector. And a lot of these teams who rotating further out, actually, from the backside of the zone, going to have a big advantage in a big shift like this, because especially sports like RTG now can look towards those positions like Shelter, like Prison Hill, which are still open and on the edge of the zone, where they won't be as contested, won't be as locked down as potentially some of these teams, as we can see in the zone currently.
We talked about timing before in the matches. You saw this shark fin compound. Curd 12 was literally just at a minute ago. They evicted themselves, put themselves here in this little compound in the middle of the farm fields, and right as they left, NIGMA Galaxy took up that spot. So if they were, if Curd 12 was just a little bit slower to the punch, I think we might have seen an all-out brawl between Curd 12 and NIGMA Galaxy. But for now, still, we haven't lost a single player this match yet, Highland Wolf. So it's turning out to be quite the slow start now.
I like it though. I like it, like Chris. It means it's also controlled by all of these teams, not willing to take too much risks, and will be able to make those more informed rotations later with all of those players still up. Finally though, the blood does begin to spill, and it's GEEKAY who are losing out on all of it, as Falcons will strike down a mega series of triple knocks, and it's only going to be Satan remaining. Powerful, trying to hunt them down, but they have the vehicle. They will be speedily away out of the fight, but claim now Falcons 3 eliminations for their effort.
Oh man, it was GEEKAY. I mean, I feel like I'm always just jinxing them. I'm like, oh no action yet, and then all of a sudden, in one fell swoop, 3/4 of the entire team of GEEKAY, our #1 team on the leaderboard, does go down. So I mean, it's Satan. He's just with his tail in between his legs, trying to hide somewhere, but it's okay because they're still in first place. They still have that healthy 20-minute buffer between them and second place, so they can semi-afford this now, but definitely does not want to keep this pattern up.
I mean, for GEEKAY, I'm not too concerned, right? They are very comfortable, and if they keep this trend going, even if just a few bad games doesn't stop them, I think, from practically, if they have even remotely a super weekend like we had in the first week, from already being in a qualifying position for the finals. It's all about right now GEEKAY just trying to make sure that they don't have to worry about that third week, confirming their position alongside a lot of these other top teams who are going to be continuing their pressure on that top of the leaderboard, as the zone has gone down towards Milta, though. It's a big Eastern shift once more. And Milta is not the place that these teams wanted to really fight it out for, because now the zone is already engulfed those bridges, so you can't make a sneaky rotation around the south side like some teams would do in a situation. Whereas instead now, you gotta fight for that main belt. For those squads like R8, like Pride, it's a mega gauntlet that they have to fight through.
I want to see a quick rotate come back from Kurd 12 because they landed in Milta. They know it is clear. They rotated into the farm area, so they should know, yeah, all these kind of rotations back are going to be complete for free, and that's exactly what we've done. I like their quick kind of rotate. NIGMA Galaxy as well. I mean, they're rotating here with zero information right there in that shark fin area. Just avoided some shots. Looks like Twisted Minds, though, finding themselves in a fight against Road to Glory. Looks like Yalla, though, you're going to be just waiting in the back, collecting up onto this one. And Twisted Minds, whatever happened to them?
They got erased, is what happened to them. The delete key got pressed, and Yalla just took 3 ones. Is there, unfortunately, for Twisted, down to the solo player. Biggles in his own little home, but it's all alone for him now. Is Road to Glory as well on that one elimination point, making a rotation through from the Wizard's Tower. Unknown will get the smoke road along for one. There's Falcons also pressuring through. A lot of the teams trying to make their moves, of course, as you can see, but very slow rotation gets punished by RTG out in the open.
Falcons, again, we're rooting for them because the other 2 teams in this lobby that didn't qualify for last Super Weekend, it's going to be Kurd 12 and remind me now, Highland Wolf, but they had gotten their chicken dinners out. Yes, SKYROCKET, they've gotten their chicken dinners, but Falcon hasn't gotten their slice of the pie yet, and they need it to jump a little bit higher in the standing. So I like their vantage point now. They're keeping all 4 ups, 4 eliminations found already. So I'm hoping, I'm sending good vibes their way to hopefully make something out of this match.
Yeah, you can see, of course, the live standings right now on the top of your screen if you haven't noticed them already. And actually, Falcons, interestingly enough, ahead of Kurd 12. So people actually, I think, even more need right now of Falcons currently. VSA had that one great game, but you can see only 25 points, Monica. They've had poor games all outside of their one chicken dinner win on Miramar. So they really need those points. And punishing the only one is a good way to start it. But they're so far away from those knocks that they're finding that they won't realistically be able to find the elimination points from those knocks itself.
Yeah, that far away, you get a knock. They have ample cover and time to, crawl somewhere safe, get their revives. Who is not safe here, though, is Major Pride, as they just keep getting dealt bad cards in this poker game of Super Weekend as they find themselves, again, only 3 man left standing, taking this fight against R8 out into the blue zone.
It's not over till the last card falls, so in Major Pride are trying their best. We'll find Bandar. It's a beautiful behind shot. They baited the R8 member out with the vehicle, and they cleanly dispatch of R8 in this game. And Major Pride, though, still a lot more to do as they're coming in from that north side shelter, but it's a south shift again. It's going to gain the wave for Major Pride, and it's a dire game for them.
SKYROCKET's coming over on the eastern edge, the only team to start on that military island. They find the likes of Triple Esports, actually one knocking himself out of the car. This could be easy pickings for the teams nearby. NIGMA Galaxy and Triple Esports looking to clean up and take this team out in 15th position.
Triple gonna make the smoke road in. Of course, it needed 2 extra revives to come through. Both Push and Jawaz are down, but look at SKYROCKET. It might be a disaster because they spy out the smokes. It look like they want the eliminations for it. Easy tumbles over. He's so eager. It now goes down into half HP territory. Continuing to try and make a move further in as Triple are losing the members, are going down to only 1 right now. As Jawaz losing out will fall away, and Clever, the only one here now, is they're trying their best. They're down to 75% HP, and it's a full squad of SKYROCKET on their back.
Triple Esports now solo Esports as Clever trying to hold it down for his team. The smoke is going to plummet. He's going to be by himself. You see the grenades all come out and trying to find a little nick of him, but they are tossed a little bit too far. Rip throwing yet another one into the depths. Over here does so much damage, but Clever is not going to go out quite yet. This one could be a good one as Clever is still waiting here, and it does finally put him down into his grave.
SKYROCKET, very, very easy peasy for themselves to get them all of the eliminations of Triple just off the back of a poor risk, I think, assessment of Triple to get themselves into those elimination points. A bit too slow indeed. Gets punished for it. NASR now in the next move forwards. The only one still stuck here in this location.
The only one. Only one once again. This is just the stories of today as NASR shifting their focus up on top, coming right near close to Road to Glory. I think they heard a little bit of scuffling inside, so they continue their journey on the way, blindly rotating into this next circle up on that northern side. But you can see how congested it is as Rad takes a piece and gets a knock and a flush.
Still, RTG. Big send in. Oh no, that is not the time to crash your car, RTG. No. What have you done? Is they will survive for now. No one noticed. They check around them. You see, well, I thought someone was going to shoot at us, but they seem to be alive in the meantime. J9 did get taken down though in the crash, so Will has to make the revive come through. The smokes trying to keep their car in play. They lose their car though, crucially here, RTG. They have no way to move inside this open space. You can see this is open fields territory.
This is just caught with their pants down and one car in a hay bale to call as cover. But we're waiting for this next circle. It shifts onto the eastern side of the city. So the teams that maybe committed a little bit too closely into the center are going to be looking for a way to come on out. NASR on the receiving end of so many shots from Road to Glory. They're looking to clear out this open field as NASR. I mean, they're trying to get the reset as quick as possible.
RTG, Nabo continuing to move in, is now struggling here, RTG, to continue in on the fight. NASR looking over the other position here in Will lose out 1 to 2. They both drop in. Unfortunately, RTG gonna fall down. Oh, so should I say NASR down to RTG here is 4 of them are going to be taken down in eliminations up towards them. K12 now moving further in onto the zone 2, making their move on the edge.
I like the edge, the southern edge, so they still have a way to get out. Major Pride going out this time in 11th position. NIGMA Galaxy, this is probably their best game of the day yet because they still have all 4 members of their team up. We see Falcons though, I mean, you know that they're going to be setting themselves up real well for this match because they're on that eastern side. Nobody is behind them, around them. They can just all look forward and focus on taking the shots onto NIGMA Galaxy. And everything that's happened, SKYROCKET, everything is going wrong for them.
Oh, they all tried sending it in each way. They only get 1 inside. They get to second though, Rip and Easy there. But they will be ripperoning them, sent into pepperonis as NIGMA make themselves a pizza with a SKYROCKET flavor.
That pizza was burnt to a crust as it was a completely indigestible. NIGMA Galaxy, though, come with the huge, massive team fight win here as Falcons just hearing the shots and wanting to get a piece of this action. But they're going to be clearing out either side. We're focusing on that northern side. Road to Glory. Can they continue their trek of winning into the bottom of this building?
The Falcons, they have a brilliant angle on this more eastern side. A lot of these teams, of course, fighting through the west, but the zone going towards them naturally helping Falcons here because a lot of these teams busy in their own fights on the opposite end of that zone. So we'll have a slightly more peaceful game, finally getting into some skirmish territory, but not as hard as RTG, who only have a rock with a Cartman name, but Rad, they say, you will not live with us, I'm afraid, and J9 will fall down.
They really split themselves up. You saw Nabu and you saw J9 so far apart from each other, just going for that solo play. So unfortunately, Nabu not able to support them as he tried to take that fight against Rad as Road to Glory. Nabu is found out. So another one bites the dust. We're into our top 8. Falcons still ascending high and keeping their eyesights on all of these teams down below in Milta.
YALLA have their own position though, like Falcons, very comfortable, even more so now as that zone has gone towards them, and YALLA, they've got the position. They have this game in their hands currently. The only other location that has compounds up to now, NIGMA, to take control of that, but NIGMA very much occupied with those full squads on the western end still to come in.
Curd 12 at least has that southern side. Nobody has been over onto his angle like Rad, like the only one from up north. Bushidos, I mean, he's their machine killer. He's their strong carrying fragger. At least he is here, still alive. At 7 eliminations as Rad focusing on to this fight with NIGMA Galaxy in this 2-stack building across the street. But can they get across the support with Curd 12 mobilizing as well?
It's a big move across the roadside. The smokes have been laden down, and Rad are trying their best to continue to move in on to their own position. They lost one, but it's a 1-for-1 trade, and it will find the elimination through onto Muhammad as well. And here comes the rest of K12, and Destra is there to meet them. And K12, they've been extincted through by Rad, and they will claim their 7th elimination in this game. But keep in mind, Monica, their zone is still away from them. They still got even more to go.
For the second consecutive time, shifting over into the direction of Falcons as Yusuf put down onto his knees, but far enough away with a little bit of a hill. Hopefully being able to be reset by the rest of his team. YALLA, we've seen some great stuff come out from them, but right now the focus is going to be NIGMA Galaxy clearing out this team that is going to be Rad, just a little bit north of them. I don't know. Everyone is taking their own little micro fights on their sides of the circle as it's going to shift into the 7th phase.
And YALLA, very comfortable in this next shift still. NIGMA were comfortable, but did allow next door neighbors Rad to enter in as well. But Falcons, who don't have a home, you can see trying to use that small dip at a hillside into the beach, but it only provides so much protection. The moment they step over, you can see the pot shots being laden out.
Falcons still coming over. They used to have a huge spread over here, but they still have a nice kind of southern eastern edge of the circle. YALLA just to their north, NIGMA Galaxy just to their left. So we'll see where this next circle will shift it. They'll have it one more time. They're just waiting here. I mean, this is everyone's just biding their time, keeping an eye on the circle and seeing where they'll be forced to go next.
Yusuf here as well, trying to, of course, find that angle for Falcons. They've been rotating slowly around. Is here still the zone, even POWR alive on the edge. It's about these surviving moments for these final teams, but it is all about the control of YALLA, who have this zone in hand. They have position still given towards them. It has gone, on the other hand, though, towards more of that south end. So it's deliberately moved now away from YALLA, and puts now in the position where all the teams will eventually have to make that move. And Falcons, they're going to have to defend first for now. NIGMA and Rad, they find one of them to a Modi. That will be the crucial beginning knock that they require. But now as NIGMA begin to separate,
A little scared for NIGMA Galaxy because they are on one side, Falcons shooting down onto them, and Rad also using this as their distraction, but they are not out of contention quite yet. Falcons still for 7 eliminations found, lobbying a utility over the top, but they said no thank you and gave it right back to Yusuf in his face.
And Falcons 1-for-1 so far, but it's the 8 eliminations. It's a Falcons game that they need, but we still need the placement points. It's only 6 remaining for the next team who falls. NIGMA stalled out for now as the zone is closing in. It's phase 7, Monica. They know that they have to move. Rather behind them, though, in NIGMA, they cannot get further forward because it's this team behind them coming in. The nades are being sent in each way. Yet NIGMA, they have to defend now. They find one. They're trying to find a second. POWR will fall in the background to YALLA. But it's Rad versus NIGMA inside the home.
This is Falcons just putting on all the offensive. They waited all day for this moment, but YALLA's going to be coming up to their side and finding multiple members of Falcon. This is a bigger fish going for the smaller ones, and nobody is safe in the circle.
That could be a big nade over. It will miss for now. It was a blind one over the top, but Saif almost clutched down Falcons in one fell swoop. Boomper now sends the nade over onto Powerful. Sidesteps it away from now, but the Mar needs revive. And as we say, phase 8 is already on its way. Another nade will miss, and Boomper will fall over aggression, but it's Rad to punish from the opposite end, from their dying breath. May have saved Falcons in this game as they are up to 12 eliminations, and YALLA now are the ones that need to turn to the revive.
maybe Falcon needed a 4-game warm-up type of situation, but here it is now. YALLA sending one out wide to have this off angle onto Falcons. The Falcons, the advantage is to them right now because it's a 4 versus 3, and you see how confident they're playing here as DeMar drives right up into the faces of Datan, taking the 1 versus 1 just on the edge.
And it's YALLA with a disadvantage, only 3 players right now as Falcons lead a charge with a 4 full squad are ready to attack. The nade will miss again though. Is here Falcons slowly beginning to move their way in, but powerful caught on the edge. That's it. Excellent punish that you need from YALLA to equalize the fight. And now they move further in though. Falcons on the other end strike back their own one onto Catan and send them back down into a 1-man disadvantage. It's safe, misses, kills their own teammate down, will reduce and remove the elimination point, but Boompa will fall as well. It's all on Saeed, but I don't think they can do it. Falcons, they see a victory in hand, but they get too eager. Houston falls down now. DeMar steps back away as the next comes in, never alone through the smoke, but the next will fall once more, and Saeed brings it down to 1-1 for now. Saeed, Shield here is never alone, back through the end, will come back out of the smoke and takes the victory.
Victory well earned indeed. We've been waiting all day for this. I mean, I they're giving me a run for my money at the end of the day. I remember I called it Highland Wolf. I'm like, all the 3 teams that didn't qualify for Super Weekend, they might be coming in hungry today. And certainly every single one of those 3 teams that didn't qualify last Super Weekend has gotten a chicken dinner today.
Look, they all needed a chicken dinner, Monica. They all needed these points, $1,000, of course, given to every single one of those teams as well. But not forgetting, keep in mind, those extra 2 games that the veterans are coming in from the Super Weekend 1 still have earned. But it's a long way to go, but at least steady beginnings. I think realistically, you look towards SKYROCKET, Monica, you look towards Falcons. They've both done their work. The only concern, though, Herd 12, who, yes, we're trying in that final game, but struggling whenever we look at these match rankings.
Struggling indeed this first half. They weren't struggling this match quite yet, but Falcons, 30 points, only seconded from, who was it, SKYROCKET that first game today. Remember, they got 16 eliminations, will beat them out by 1 point, but still 30 points found in a single match is going to really push them soaring into all.
And taking up, that, of course, that second position, taking those 9 points to bring them into that position. YALLA, though, doing very much work into that 3rd spot. NIGMA is from the 4th, but did, of course, get those extra 7 elimination points, but you do have to remind yourselves that it's only been 2 good games out of the total 5 by Herd 12, so they aren't that high when it comes to the overall leaderboards. I think pushed further down by the fact, of course, as you say, Falcons and SKYROCKET have had more consistency.
Someone who is definitely showing way more consistency is going to be NIGMA Galaxy. They didn't get a chicken dinner yet today, and they haven't gotten any so far in the Super Weekend so far. But, I mean, we've had some very consistent staying in that top 5, getting a lot of eliminations, and seeing how they're going to claw their way up. But let's take a look at the second half of just this match ranking.
The second half is the only one in that 9th position, 4 points there, and moving down to the 2 to the 1 points there for the rest of the teams as well. Is very quiet game from the rest, but it was all because points, of course, were sponged up by those top 8 members of the pack. As we check out as well the overall rankings here, Monica, too, from where we are at the end of our first 20 games of the Super Weekend so far.
So although GEEKAY had 2 matches today, remember in Sanhok where they went out early to the likes of YALLA, and then this last one they got 0 points or maybe even 1 point. But despite that, they have still gotten so many points today in the other matches, sitting at 191, just shy of, I thought they could break the 200-point mark, but maybe they'll save that for tomorrow. But still, almost a 30-point gap between them and Twisted Minds in second place.
And of course, NIGMA there in that third position.
Wow.
Definitely a big increase, Monica. Up now to the 161 point mark, and it's been a mega climb through from them today. But YALLA equally have been on their tail as well, up to now that fourth position for them, making that climb too. In NASR 4K slipping down to fifth, the sixth position is RTG even further. But the other team that I think really has had that improvement so far today as well, you could argue has also been R8, because they also weren't that high in the overall standings when you looked at them, and now coming in with those top first page results and 144 to add.
The scores are getting a little bit less volatile, especially as we look into that second half of the overall rankings, because now we have so many matches under our belts. Just one chicken dinner isn't going to, like we saw last week, and just skyrocket you into third place sort of thing. So here, now we see OOREDOO Thunders. They're not in here at all. Fallen down now onto the second page, along with CONQUEROR, along with 90th minute. So nothing is helping them this weekend, and they're just hoping these other teams don't do too well.
Yeah, the only one, though, I think has been slightly more disappointing, though, today, because, of course, they have had 5 extra games now on top of 90th minute, but they're still behind 90th on the overall results. So you are really questioning, when is the only one going to wake up and realize that they need these points? Because, as we said, there are 3 hungry teams on this next page, Monica. They're all looking to try take that position away from them.
The bottom 3, though, of course, these are the 3 teams that did not play in last Super Weekend, because these teams have only played 5 matches. But despite that, Falcons are at 60 points, and the only one is at 89. So currently, there's only a 29-point difference between them. I mean, we still have 2 more days of this Super Weekend to go, and this is well within striking distance.
And I think, to be fair, Falcons, the SKYROCKET, even arguably KOR12, as much as it has been disappointing outside their 2 decent games, they've all done well for themselves, considering it was a big climb to get up there in the mountain to be able to get themselves onto some points. But you have to also look, I think, at those teams from 16th, 15th position, Monica, because now they're falling behind. But what they don't fall behind on is style, which is a Grizzly Bear card collection where you in game can earn some rewards up until the 6th of July there and join in the card collection draw and win outfits. There's a chance to get all the pieces of an item in one go. Of course, that I like the style of the bear suit, of the hat, Monica. I mean, to be fair, if you rock it all, though, as you say, then you've got the ultimate swag.
The ultimate one. They should give you an in-game sound like a grizzly bear roar, but you got less than a week to grab that one for yourselves. I think this outfit would be so great on Miramar, that brown kind of theme, just to really blend in with the sands.
Look, there's a long way to go as well, Monica, to blend into the rest of these teams and points and get to the top of the standings. We've got 10 more to go this Super Weekend. Same time, same place tomorrow with myself and Monica once more. We'll see you guys then.
Only aim for perfection, ain't no half stepping. I'm gonna take you back, spitting facts, you gotta live with that. Who got it? Who won it? No problem, we mobbing. In the city, plenty havoc causing. Do or die, it's either all or nothing. Best believe I'm leaving out with something. Anytime I got the crowd jumping, throwing waves, they fist pumping. I'm the king of dysfunction. What would you do if you had my life? Weren't like me, had them stripes.